Hello and welcome back to Syndicate Gaming. We're all here. We have the High Council. My name's Jim. Got my buddy John and my brother Bobby.
Hey, you
Just say
guys.
hi real quick, guys.
Hey,
Yeah, glad to be back.
Yeah, it feels good to have the gang back together doing a tier list. So tonight we're obviously doing Cabal, so it's gonna be a long one. Just for a change in format, we're not gonna do the tactics cards. Or our favorite splash characters. We might just mention some splash characters if we're gonna mention cards that are good with the character we're talking about, but we're not gonna like rank them specifically. Uh, but yeah, but first, really quick, we went to Nova Open like we talked about last time. That was a couple months ago. So um, why don't you guys tell us about how it was, how it went?
Yeah, it was my second tournament, my first major like convention. It's a ton of fun with you guys hanging out for a couple days, just nothing but gaming. Um, Tried not to blow all my per diem on like the Games Workshop booth and some of those in the vendor hall. But yeah, I think I with the singles day I went 2-2, and then the team tournament I think I went 1-2. So three, 3-4 overall.
Yeah, that's not bad for your first major tournament. Like, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. No, it was pretty fun. I had definitely had some close ones on those losses. There was my not to get too into the weeds, but my very last game on the team tournament, you guys were like wrapped up with yours, and you came over and saw me finish mine, and it came down to group trying to double move to secure a point, and it was like a millimeter off. It was
Yeah.
well, it's about as like physically as close as you can get
Yep.
to winning a game. So no, it was good though. I had fun with all my opponents. Everyone was a pleasure to play with.
yeah, it was a blast. It was my second time going to Nova. Jimmy and I went last year, and um, I also went 2-2 during the singles event. There was some really stiff competition there. A lot of really, really good players. Got to see a lot of good games play out. I was playing kind of a more attrition focused Steve Avengers list that I had put together, which was fun. I had a bunch of like stealth characters with martial artists and had like Malekith in there. Probably should have run him more on the singles day. Um, but yeah, it was a blast. I had a really good time. And then for the team tournament, which was really fun to do because we got to play 7 games of Marvel over the weekend. I went 3-0 with 2 really close games. So that was a blast. I loved the team format. It feels more exciting when there's like sort of 3 of you all together in it instead of just your one game.
I have you guys, lifting me back up.
You were doing good. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh
the
no.
other teams matched up against you sometimes when they had the choice because you were on
Yeah.
Guardians. I think they wanted
I,
a good
I
Guardian.
I will say I was playing just 10 Guardians in my list. But I think both of my losses, they had the opponent team had priority and kind of chose that matchup, which is what it is.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, so for me, I went uh 2-1-1 in the singles event. I think I got seventh, so I just missed the top cut. I drew with a really good Guardians player. That was a crazy close game. And I lost my fourth round because I missed a wild push off of Blob, so that felt kind of bad, but oh
Several
well, I
times.
was like so close. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Several
Yeah.
times on that.
That score
Uh
was like 17-16, right? That
yep.
last round. Yeah.
It came
Uh,
down to needing a single wild on like 12 different dice, and it just didn't come up.
Yeah, but it's
But
like,
that's
oh
MCP.
well. Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, so then for the team tournament, I went 3-0, just like Bobby. But that was, obviously playing criminals, I had Kingpin, so we gave me the good matchup. So that really helped out a lot, because we basically just gave me the other player that had, all their good secures for me. So yeah, that was super fun. We got third in the team event because there was some weird scoring that we didn't even really know about, but oh well, we went.
Even afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we went 7-2 as a team, which is awesome.
Yeah,
So,
we won all the rounds. Like as a team, we were 3-0.
right, exactly. So, oh well,
Yeah,
whatever. That was fun. Yeah, we like won the uh Vibranium Heist player pack, some cool alt art cards and scenarios. So yeah, so that was Nova. Uh, but now let's jump into Cabal, guys. So I would say Bobby is our main Cabal player. So Bob, um, tell us about the like Cabal game plan. Is it all just murder? Is there more going on, or what's the deal?
yeah. So Cabal was my first affiliation that I played when Jimmy got me into the game. And I played like original Red Skull for I want to say it was like 3 or 4 months. Even in like the TTS league, I was running like an original Red Skull list, and then halfway through that season, Malekith came out and completely redefined what Cabal meant. But Cabal, I could think Cabal does have a pretty heavy focus on attrition. Right when the game was brand new, Red Skull Modoc was the boogeyman that was murdering everybody, and then Malekith was the boogeyman for a long time and also murdering everybody. And now we have new Red Skull, who has a very attrition focused leadership. I think time will tell, what exactly we see with him. So I do think their game plan is generally an attrition focused game plan. Not necessarily like in the same way as Guardians. Like sometimes Guardian is really just looking to like do as much damage as possible, like across the whole board, like attacking your opponent's whole team, kind of like maybe trying to table them by the end of the game. Cabal a lot of times goes pretty tall and is pretty good at killing like a single target. So you might like ignore one objective and just like go all in on one character using like dark rain and just take them off the board early and then try to leverage that advantage to score out the game because they do have some like pretty decent objective control tricks as well that they can kind of like follow up their initial damage burst with.
Yeah, you played Cabal at last year's Nova, right? You had like Red Skull and Malekith.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I had a really fun time. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, the classic Cabal list. But now that you mention it, let's talk about Dark Rain really quick. Because that is a great um that's like one of the reasons to play Cabal. And we're not going to talk about like cards specifically, but I think this one is worth spending like a little bit of time on. So it's Cabal only. Any Cabal character can spend 3 power to play it. You choose an enemy character, and all of your Cabal characters can reroll any number of dice when attacking the chosen character this round. So I mean, this card is just great, right? Right? Like I think this is the main reason to be Cabal besides your leader. Like you don't really have any other Cabal tactics cards, right?
yeah, yeah. Cabal does not have a lot of specific tactics cards. I think there's a couple, but this is really the by far the most relevant one, and it makes them really good at killing one big target. You don't want to take Hulk against Cabal because of this card, especially if they're going to be playing heavy hitters like Malekith that are good into him. Um, and it really, it's a pretty strong incentive to put a lot of Cabal characters on the table too. Um, my current Cabal list I'm messing around with is like 10 Cabal characters, and I'll probably cut one of them for a splash, but I think you want a lot of Cabal in your list.
Yeah, but I mean, this is just worth it on one character, right?
Yeah, I
You could
mean, on a
play, then use
Malekith,
someone with rapid fire. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Hood, it rolls a ton of dice one turn. Malekith rolls a ton of dice. Yeah, even the floor of this is good. But one reason why I like having a lot of Cabal characters is just it makes this card really easy to play. It does have kind of a high power cost, and you don't always know like which character is going to be able to spare the power. Um, so it's just nice when all your characters have the option of playing this because it does the timing on it is pretty important. Usually there's like one round where you really want to be able to play this card, you know. So it's nice when you have like Bullseye who is sitting in the back ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into core set Red Skull. So, who wants to talk about classic Red Skull, the first Cabal member?
I know I'm talking a lot, but I got to talk about classic Red Skull
Okay, take it
because
away.
honestly, his leadership is really good. It's still like one of the better leaderships out there. I think he doesn't see a lot of play anymore just because the rest of his card has kind of not stood the test of time as well. It doesn't, it came out in the core set, and he's missing some things that some of the newer character cards have. But this leadership gives you a lot of power. It helps you have really spiky turns, like somebody maybe like Killmonger or Valkyrie, in any of these sort of attrition characters who have a lot of superpowers and tricks that they can do. Maybe they charge in and attack, and you're relying on them to roll a certain number of hits to get enough power to do their follow up. This really can make that more consistent. Um, and just throughout the course of the game, it might generate you more power than almost any other leadership out there. I mean, maybe like A Force leadership or the new uh, Spider Foes leadership would be the ones to compete with this one in terms of sheer volume of power, but it really gives you a lot. Um, it feels good to be flush on power. The rest of Red Skull, I don't think he's as lackluster as some people will make him sound. Like he'll do things when you put him on the table. It's just, his only action economy is a range 2 place that costs 3 power. Um, generating power is a nice trick, but it costs an action, which is kind of rough. Um, and then his Cosmic Blast, it's a good attack, but there are other 4 threats who have this as like a gainer instead of a spender. Um, but one thing I do like about him, Unleash the Cube can hit pretty hard, kind of unexpectedly. It's a throw with no size restriction, almost a guaranteed throw if he does damage. So I've had Red Skull surprise some people before. His push on his strike is also not size restricted. So if he can kind of get in his position with someone pretty tanky to pass attacks off to with Hail Hydra, he can do good work, but he's just a little on the clunky side. Um, and doesn't see as much play these days because I mean, Malekith got nerfed recently, but for a long time was like kind of the de facto leader of competitive Cabalists. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a great breakdown, Bob. Um, so like once we decided that we were doing Cabal, I've been spending time thinking about classic Red Skull, and you like mentioned the other like leaderships that gain you power, and those are pretty much all capped at 1 per turn. Red Skull is not capped. You can make 4 attacks with rapid fire and gain 4 power, which is a pretty like unique thing in the game. But I think he doesn't see as much competitive play because it's not guaranteed,
For half
right?
the damage.
Right, exactly. So like let's say turn 1 Red Skull, you know, like does the Cosmic Cube to gain 3 power and moves Modoc up. He's now on 0 power. Well, I guess he's on 1 power. So then he can move up and do 1 Cosmic Blast at range 4, but then he doesn't have power to interact that whiffs. It's like it's just not like a guarantee. So I think so like So like when he's compared to the classic Steve Rogers, right? That's like a guaranteed your superpowers cost one less every single turn. You can always count on that. But with this having an RNG element, I think that keeps him out of like top tier play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I think he's probably the third most relevant character at this point from the original core set, which that could be its own tier list video uh, in its own right. But um, behind, like, obviously Steve won and original Baron Zemo, I would say, ahead of Red Skull. I think there's
Classic
a
Iron Man, dude.
Yeah, I mean he's a little more situational. I think Red
Yeah.
Skull just being that leader, giving you options, um, throwing three Red Skulls in a Hydra list like you did on that our last battle report.
Yeah, that was
Um,
fun.
I would say he's still pretty relevant for what he is, which kind of surprises me.
Where do you think we should rank it in Cabal specifically? I'm thinking like B. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
He kind of has some limits to his power level, but he still does some pretty unique things. Um,
yeah, yeah. I think you can definitely build a list with him in mind, if you choose to, but he's obviously not a required piece. I would have said A until recently. Some of the new updates in core set really helped out Cabal here. Um,
Yeah.
Kind of just took the spotlight away from him a little bit, but it was time.
One thing
Yeah,
I will
it
say is that his card Cosmic Invigoration is pretty insane. It takes an activated token off of one of your characters. So that's a kind of a cute thing you can do. Activate Malekith twice in a round. Sometimes it can even be like overkill. Like you give your opponent priority, and maybe you've already dazed some models anyway. But I have had some insane swings with this card before.
yeah. This card's pretty crazy. Like there's like literally nothing else like it in the whole game.
Yeah, messing with activated tokens is it's pretty rare, but when it happens, it can be really powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Doctor Strange can take an activated token off, but he needs like two allied characters to help him. It's like super, there's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Yeah,
This one is much more straightforward.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. I think he sits nicely in B. He like might be A if there wasn't literally like a brand new Red Skull, you
that's
know?
exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, he was A until, you know, a
Yeah.
month ago.
He's not bad though.
No.
But moving on to someone who might be bad, which is so sad because I love Sid.
All
She
right.
she might be the lowest ranked leader in the game.
Might
Like
be.
like normally in these tier lists we put leaders fairly high, right? But it's like I don't know why you would ever use Sid's leadership in Cabal.
There's
Like,
just so many good tools for you.
yeah, it's that RNG thing, so it could literally do nothing. It's like only relevant if the extract is an asset. So now it doesn't even work on civilians. There's a lot more civilian extracts. And she's just kind of a weak character, which really breaks my heart because she is super fun. She's super fun. But if
Yeah.
we're talking about competitive play, I don't think Sin can be taken seriously.
No. But the thing that gets me, like you said, with the it can only be an asset, not a civilian token. Um, the thing that gets me is that it's during cleanup after scoring. So it's like you're just kind of being a nuisance to somebody, but you're not like stealing VPs or anything. Like at worst, you would just be denying. Like obviously, you wouldn't make someone drop it and then pick it up yourself, like in the cleanup. Um, I don't know if that would be. That probably would be too busted if it was before VPs, but I don't know. It feels kind of bad because you're not denying anything really.
right?
Yeah,
So
she's a cool design, but I think they played it safe on the leadership because it would be kind of toxic to like deny your opponent a bunch of victory points right before you score. So she's more fun than competitive.
But
you,
is she fun though? Because that's the defining line between C and D, right?
she is fun. Um, we actually talked about a way to like fix her, Bob. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Fix the
So
leadership.
yeah,
I'm trying.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I'll remember. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, why don't you tell us about it?
It we were like kind of coming up with some ideas. I think we were saying like limit it to one character, like in the cleanup phase before scoring VPs, you could either push one character or have someone drop an objective. Um, that was our idea, right? Like it's guaranteed, but it's only one character, so it just kind of it actually does things, but it's not like you know stupid and that you're you know pushing multiple characters off points and things like that.
Right. Uh, we were saying to like limit to one character, but it's a guarantee, and maybe even do it like before VPs. Maybe that's too strong, but I was like really sad that she wasn't updated in this most recent card updates because I think she really needs it. And it's really awkward that she doesn't work with the new crossbows. I think that would help a lot too, because then you can set up, sick beams and do tons of damage. Her like passive here actually works really well with the new Red Skull because she takes damage from the leadership, she gets a power. I don't know. There's like a little bit of synergy there, but plus her like spender is really bad. I don't know why you would ever do that over just the rapid fire. Like
It's
four
really bad.
powers, 6 dice for a questionable trigger. Like, yeah, and 4 health on the healthy side. But so is she C or D is the question. Like, would you ever play her in Cabal?
Well, so we did say D on the criminal list, right? So I guess my question is, do you ever put her on the table, or do you ever put her in your roster, your 10, for fun kitchen table games, right? Is that ever a draw, or is it just one of those like Electra pre-rework where it's like, this isn't really working for me, and it's just not, it's actively unfun.
I think she's fun. I think she's like you're like I'm gonna play Sin and it's gonna be like hard mode, but she does cool things. She just she dies to like Wong, but she I think she's fun. I think she could still be D tier and be fun. I would probably say D tier. We should probably talk about our tiers a little bit.
Oh, that's true. So, okay, so for the like very top here is tier is S tier. That's basically they're gonna be in every single roster of Cabal that you make, and they might be in like most of your games, like 90% of your games. That's like really, really good. A is like they'll make most of your rosters and they'll make 60% of your games or so. B is like starting to get a little bit more questionable. Like they're more of like a niche pick, you know, like you'll take them in like specific situations, or if you're going for a certain theme or you're splashing with a different faction. C is like you're kind of playing on like hard mode, like a little bit, you know, like they're very niche, one specific situation, and there's probably characters that do their same role but better. And then D is like they don't really function properly, or they're not really fun to play even. Like you would never play them in Cabal, just maybe there's a ton of better options. They don't really work. Like, yeah. Does that make sense to you guys? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, I mean, let's put Sin in C, I guess. Like she's not unfun. She could mess around with VPs, which is good. But like honestly, you know, whenever I play Sin, I like miss the leadership trigger sometimes. They were like, on to round two, and I'm like, oh, whoops, I missed the leadership trigger. I guess I just don't have a leadership. But oh well. Hopefully Sin gets a buff in the future.
Yeah,
So
I do think there's a balance update coming because there were like no villains in this one. I think they were just preparing all the people that are coming, like that are going to be played with the upcoming releases, like the Wakanda stuff and the X-Men stuff. I think we're going to be getting a balance update sometime around the new Spider Foes.
let's hope so.
You heard it here first.
John's called it.
Unless that's just totally wrong, and then you just saw it on Discord somewhere.
All right, guys. Well, let's move on to Malekith. He was the big bad for like a year, something.
Like
What do
two
we think of
years.
Malekith now?
Yeah, I'm very glad that I got into the game right after his nerf that brought the Guardians to the forefront. Because I managed to miss Guardians being bad. So shout out to all of you playing longer than me that kind of had to deal with bad Guardians and the reign of terror from Malekith. But I mean, he's been nerfed once for every realm that he conquered, right? He They have just been fixing his balance for the entire time he's been in the game, and he is still crazy. Um, I think he's still worthy of being splashed in other places and on his own. He's just fierce. His leadership just kind of gets me every time. I just never think about it. I know he hits hard and he's more mobile than I expected as on the table. And then he just has a bunch of stuff around him with his Midnight Phantasmagoria and the Black Bifrost. He's just kind of all over the place. And he is 7 threat, so like for that price you want to get your money's worth, but man, he it's a tough one. Like how do you lock that down?
So Malekith is only in Cabal, and I think after this most recent round of nerfs, which took away his Pierce, which limited his throw to size 3, and his health was lowered as well. I think he's only worth it in Cabal for his leadership because his leadership is insane. You like
Hmm.
daze or KO somebody, take off a damage, gain a power, and move, and that works on grunts, which I have like moved a handed jump to the midline against Malekith, and it got one shot, and then he's moving his like Red Skull up the board turn one. I'm like, oh my god, this is playing on hard mode. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's still great. He's not bad at all. Whoa, I didn't know it did that. That's cool.
Yeah, shout
Anyways,
out to Jarvis Protocol.
yeah, shout out Jarvis Protocol. I'm like loving this website. But they like mentioned in the live stream when they showed off the updates is that he's meant to bully smaller characters, and I totally see that now with the size restriction, the leadership triggers. Like he will go down to focus fire, right? Because his health is down. He's not piercing, he's not getting as much power, but I think Bobby's played the most Malekith out of the three of us. So what do you think of this, Bob?
Yeah, I think he's still a very um serviceable, good character. I'm kind of happy with where he's at now, honestly. I enjoyed playing Malekith. Even playing against him, I always enjoyed just because he has that awesome model and he's just this big, scary thing. But what I didn't enjoy was okay, turn one, charge. Oh, I dazed your character, they drop something, and then I just see the light go out of my opponent's eyes, and it's like the game's over. That was never fun. He led to some pretty like one-sided games that really, even if you were the one winning them, weren't very fun. So now, hopefully, people can have more of a positive association with him, where they're like, "Oh yeah, I killed Malekith, and my Hulk went in there and didn't get thrown around and staggered him and did some stuff to him, and it was like this big battle between powerful characters instead of just feeling like helpless. Like Malekith is just coming after you and murdering you. Um, so I think they finally got him to where he should be. I think he's in a good spot now. I do agree with you. I think if you're trying to win games with him, he's mostly limited to being a Cabal leader now. I think he's a lot less splashable. Um, you're, honestly, I'm not sure if you are really wanting to put all your eggs into the turn one charge anymore. That was kind of always like he had it naturally when he first came out, and then after he was nerfed, it was like, okay, if you're playing Malekith, you're gonna play Advanced R&D or Wong to give him the third power to charge, because just getting him going early was so important. But now with him not having the Pierce, I think that's not the way to play him anymore. Because if you go all in and like spend all these resources on charging him in, 7 dice with no Pierce and no dice fixing, because he's not going to have any power to turn skulls to crits. That's not very reliable. If he rolls great, it's good. He gets a lot of power. If he whiffs and gets no power, he's just making another attack with no pierce and no skulls becoming crits. So what you might see a little more often now is like move once, make an attack with Cloak of Shadows online so that you have more of that consistency with your damage, just to more consistently get his train going, rather than going all in and trying to get 2 attacks round one.
Yeah, I mean, now I think it's best to just move up and use Blood Boil. Hopefully get two characters, but on just one, he'll start round two with 5 power, right?
Right. Yeah,
Which
I
then
mean,
you can charge in and use, 2 power to do the skulls and the crits. Like that seems good to me.
right. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I ideally, I mean, he's fast enough. He might be able to move up and make a Blade of Midnight attack if someone got close enough, or if you teleported him or something. But yeah, even Blood Boil as a floor for round one, I agree with you. Sets him up for a really good round two, and he'll still feel like the scary Malekith that he always was. Even before this last nerf, some of the top Malekith players said they preferred him actually on more spread out crises like D shapes, because it really let him, bully little characters and pick his targets. I think that's going to be even more of the case now. If he runs up the middle into the whole team, I think he's going to go down faster than you want him to.
Yeah, so where should we rank him? He like was S for a long time, but like now I think he doesn't need to be in every Cabal list. So I'm thinking A, honestly. What do you guys think?
I think it's a wonderful time to be able to put him in A tier. Um, I don't know. I still think he has some merit being Splash, but specifically in Cabal, um, I don't know. I still for the his model alone, he's S tier.
Yeah.
Just that bog tiger with the wings. Oh my gosh. Especially Jimmy's that Bobby was playing in Nova. It looks so good. Um,
Thank you.
I got so many
You know what's so
compliments on
sad?
it.
Okay, so I
What?
like bought him the like day he came out and like painted him up, and I've like never used him because I felt bad bringing him to the LGS, right? It's like I just can't play Malekith against random people in friendly games. It's just like rude, you know? It's like now I feel like it's finally like viable to do that without ruining someone's day.
Well,
So
yeah,
that's
now's the
great.
time.
But what do you think, Bob? Is he S or A?
Yeah, I think he's A tier. At Malekith, Red Skull, Master of Hydra, and Mystique is still a pretty terrifying 15 threat team. So just including that package in your list, just to have that option at 15 threat, is probably still a good idea if you want to sometimes set up lopsided games for yourself. Um, but I do think it's like you're either playing the Malekith package or you're not. You're not just like defaulting to him anymore. So I think he's A tier.
I think it's worth noting that the new leadership on the new Red Skull does like nothing for Malekith, which is
Yeah.
really cool. It's like if Malekith has 0 power, then he can count Skull as a crit, but that like never comes up. So that's worth noting at least. Like maybe you don't even play him with the new Red Skull. Which,
Yeah.
speaking of the new Red Skull, let's talk about him. Uh, why don't you tell us about the new Red Skull, John?
Yeah, so it was pretty fun watching you guys play a bunch of the new characters against each other. The the somewhat serious Red Skull Master of the World list against the Hydra list, which was
The Hydra list.
a ton of fun. Yeah, he I was pretty impressed with Master of the World Red Skull. I think there were 4 Red Skulls on the teams for that game, but uh, his leadership just looks like so much fun. I've played a couple of games with the new Steve, and I've kind of run into an issue where I'm running out of power for you know, his leadership to turn dice. Um, and I know that this one is still a little limited in that you have to roll a skull to be able to trigger it, but it does seem a little bit more consistent than Steve's. And it might be my favorite, having not played the new Spider Foes, it might be my favorite right now of the new core set. It's pretty solid. I think there's a ton of things that you can do with it. With the suffering damage. Uh, I prefer a very attrition heavy game plan, and it just fits right in. So I might actually have to finally play a Cabal game.
Wasn't
As
that your
far
very
as
first game was Cabal?
no Spider Foes,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
All right. Sorry.
it was Spider Foes into Web Warriors, which
Okay.
felt pretty good. It's the only time I've used the Green Goblin Peter Parker rule.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so the rest of his kit seems pretty good. The teleport is the most intriguing um, thought experiment for me, where it's very obviously very similar to the original, but it's different enough that it poses some questions, right? It's like it's within 3, you place within 3 instead of within 2, so it goes further, but you have to be closer, and it costs an extra power. But he can spend that power off of someone else. So Bobby had a great turn 1 against you with it, where he's placing Modoc 3 up the board turn 1 for practically nothing. Was it he spent the power off Loki, I think. So uh, it was a great turn 1 play, and I just think there's a ton of stuff that can be unlocked with that. That power is only for the one who rule. Um, Very excited to see what the community does with some of the options there, because it does seem kind of limitless right now.
Yeah, the leadership is good, kind of no matter what team you take. I don't know if it's better to take like a really wide team just to have more chances at it, or to take a tall team with big dice pools, and then this just makes your attack hit even harder. I kind of lean more towards the second because whenever you can one shot someone in this game, that's really good. Um, so and then it naturally synergizes with his teleportability. If you're teleporting up a heavy hitter who rolls a lot of dice, it all just kind of works together really well. Um, I think Loki with a gem is the only Cabal character who gets 3 power in the power phase and lets him do this like right away, turn 1. Um, that was that was crazy in our game, and um, I did not even like put the list together with that specifically in mind. I like noticed it as we were playing, and it yeah, it can be pretty scary. I Having like a lockjaw teleport on your leader, not for free, you have to have someone with the power, but it could do some pretty crazy things. And then his builder, his cosmic burst is a really, really solid attack. That's probably the best part of his card beside the leadership. So I'm excited to see what he does. Um, I'm hopeful that Cabal will be up there with the top teams, but we'll see. I haven't listened to a lot of podcasts about WTC yet, so I'm not sure how New Cabal did there. Did they play? I don't think they played the core set in that,
Yeah,
did
Yeah, I
they?
don't
Okay.
think so.
no.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, it's like worth noting that the nothing is beyond my reach teleport works on enemies. So you can, you know, move a whoever, like to the middle of your team and have Malekith blow them up or whatever. So that's worth noting. But I think the turn one Loki play that Bobby did to me, I think that has legs, honestly. Because then Loki is just like a pest the whole rest of the game, right? He's like, your stuff costs more, then I'm gonna die, and then you're hexed the entire game, which then makes the leadership even better, right? Because you're getting more crits and they're not getting any crits. Like, I think that has serious play. I mean, that is 9 threat, because you have to take Loki with a gem, and then Red Skull's 4. But I don't know. That seemed really good to me. Uh, Plus, I think you're right that the builder is insane. Choosing between energy and mystic is like the best two things to pick between. And Wild Shock is also just really good and helps with his like, subpar defenses. What do you guys think of this spender? Because in my like core set reaction video, I thought it was pretty trash, but I've heard people say that it's good. And it's worth noting that, the crit is actually twice as likely because you can get a skull, and then wild hit on 7 dice isn't that crazy. And it can chain multiple times. But do you guys think it's worth using that or no?
I think it's nice, like once you have the power for it. I don't think you're going to be doing it until later in the game when everyone's just flush with power. But once you get to that point, yeah, I mean, it is nice. It can hit sort of hard with 7 dice. And if you do get the trigger, then you're really getting some good mileage out of it. I don't know what the odds on the trigger are exactly, but it might be like, I don't know, 30 or 40% would be my off the top of my head guess.
Yeah. I mean, using his throw is just guaranteed damage. Like I would rather throw than use the spender, right? But I mean, you know, range 4 is further than medium. So I don't know. It still seems a little sketchy to me, but maybe it'll pop off and win you the game. Okay, so where should we put him? I'm honestly not too sure.
Yeah, I've seen one game with him. Um, and there were just so many other things that happened in the game, obviously. But I don't know. I think he has the potential for S tier. Um, but Bobby and I also put like every Guardians of the Galaxy member in S tier. So what do I know? um,
Jimmy was
I
like, "You guys are drunk. You can't do affiliation. You can't do tier
yeah
videos without me anymore."
yeah no unsupervised
Nah,
videos.
that
I
was
think
just
he
biased.
I think he has potential for S tier, but I hesitate to actually put him there until we know for sure. You know.
He kind of feels like an A tier. He's really solid. His leadership is really solid. I don't think it like warps the game like Kingpin's leadership does, and I don't think he as a character is like way over the top. I think he's just a really good foundation for a roster that's never going to let you down.
Would you ever take him not as the leader? So basically under Malekith, because you can't take him with the other Red Skull and you're never played Sin. So
Probably not. I I guess if you really like the energy versus mystic option and you want the teleport a lot, maybe.
okay, how about this? You have Red Skull, you have Loki, you have Malekith. You can move Malekith up range 3 turn 1. That's only 16 threat.
Yeah, it's true.
That's
I maybe you have your 15 cheese team and then that's your 16 cheese team.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
All right. Well, let's put him in A because, just like John said, we're not confident enough yet to put him into S tier. I think he could be there eventually, but I think John's right that we should put him in A. Do you think he's better than Malekith or not? Like, which leadership would you rather have right now?
Honestly, I think the Red Skull leadership, um, just the Malekith and the Sam Avengers leaderships, they're very similar, just like, good guy versus bad guy versions of the same thing. Um, and I think the game itself has changed a little bit away from that. And both of those leaderships have kind of, they had their time in the sun, and now we've moved on a little bit to some other things. Right now, the Red Skull one kind of intrigues me more.
Yeah, I mean,
But we have,
Malekith's leadership is still insane. You just you don't know for sure when you're gonna daze a character. Um, if you'll be able to do it right when you need it. Um, I think Red Skull is better. He's more just consistently good. He's not as situational.
Yeah, let's leave him over Malekith just because he's 3 threat cheaper. I mean, that's a whole extra character. Um, and I think the leaderships are similar in power, and Malekith has been toned down enough to where he doesn't just carry the team. So I don't know. I mean, they're pretty much the same to me. I think they could easily swap one way or the other. Uh,
Yeah,
but
and
okay.
Sam is still, it's not as widespread as he used to be because
oh
he's
yeah,
not the new shiny, but he's still really good, and he does counter Malekith's leadership really well.
for
So
sure.
that's one reason to think about Red Skull instead.
Plus, his new Red Skull just shreds the Captain Americas, making his builder Mystic. That's like how you kill Avengers. It's Mystic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a long time on the 4 leaders, but that's where we wanted to spend the most time because that's really what matters in Cabal. It's like Dark Reign and your leadership. That's like why you play Cabal, right? And now we have like 30 other characters that we can choose from. So, so these characters will be much quicker. We're not going to talk as long on them, but I think it's worth noting in these giant affiliations that characters might be placed lower because there's so many options that they really need to be the best at what they do to get a high ranking, right?
So Wolverine
So,
S tier.
yeah, because he's just the best at what he does. But like I think there's very few of these characters that are just like bad or not worth using. There's just so many options that there's gonna be somebody better, right? So yeah, I just wanted to mention that really quick. But we're gonna start with Arnim Zola. John, tell us about Arnim Zola.
The man in the box. Um, yeah, he's an interesting piece for sure. Um, just right off the bat, I think I like him better in Hydra than in Cabal.
Yep,
But he
same
does he
here.
does he does work really well with, I think, both Red Skulls. He's fun for a 3 threat. He kind of has that Doc Ock thing with like the scientific hubris and that mad scientist vibe, that I think AMG really captured in the card. Um, but yeah, he's got the rerolls, and like anybody that has that pay to add dice to your next attack, I just feel so inclined to do it. That's the draw for me, is like, oh man, if I can get them flush with power, like if he's rolling his defense uh against the rapid fire and I get 3 crits or whatever, um on 3 separate attacks, and next time I'm gonna blow this guy up. In reality, he hasn't really held me in fascination like on the table, but in theory, I really like him. Um, he is pretty fun. I like his immunities for a 3 threat. He's pretty slow though. I don't know. I think on a narrow map, he's pretty fun. Especially paying to with his Hydra engineering. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the long and short of it,
Um,
really.
to me, like Zola does some unique things for Cabal because, well, just villains in general, because villains in this game tend to be selfish, and Zola is one of the few characters that hands out rerolls. Uh, and he's a mad scientist, so it gives them bleed sometimes. But I think he has a unique role to play, right? Like, I guess there's characters like Baron Zemo and Baron Strucker that have like a range to, you can like reroll dice, and that's phenomenal. And that's probably what pushes him out. And to me, this two physical defense is just rough. Like the 4 or 5 games I've played him, he just gets focused down and dies. Even having 6 health on both sides, which is great, just two physical is really, really bad. He has no other tech besides the rerolls, and rerolls are not great on 2 dice. Do you have any other thoughts on him, Bob?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you guys said. He does good things, but I think being slow and having two physical defense kind of makes him like a punching bag. Like he's just really vulnerable to getting closed on and taking a bunch of damage, and then he gives the other team a bunch of power. So I think that's what holds him back. And he doesn't have all the tricks he has in Hydra.
I might put him in C tier, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
specifically for Cabal, C for
Yeah.
Cabal. Um, I think he's C tier, maybe. Yeah, higher rank in Hydra, but that's another video.
Yeah. I mean, he's in Cabal and Hydra, so that's really easy splash. That's probably his main role. And then the long range rerolls. But now moving on to Baron Mordo. And Bobby likes Baron Mordo, I know. So Bob, tell us about him.
Yeah, I think Mordo's a good character. He's probably my favorite support character in the game. And I'm generally not like a big fan of support characters. I think most of them don't really pull their weight. Um, and speaking of characters with two physical defense, but I I like him because he flies and he's a medium mover on a medium base, so he gets around the board pretty well. That really helps with his weak physical defense because he can position himself exactly where he wants and stay safer that way. Um, and then he just all of his attacks have good utility. He's a mystic attacker on a 3 threat, which is kind of rare to find. So he can help like bolster up your mystic damage in your list. Um, and then his adding dice to attacks is nice. It's you know if both teams are going attrition on each other, like if the other team's attacking you back really hard, like taking a damage for 2 dice is not like amazing. Because 2 dice on average will do a damage to the other character, so it's kind of an even trade in that sense. Um, but if your opponent is a little more objective focused, he can really help you punish them and attack them pretty hard. Um, and then he has a lot of great conditions, like having Hex on a range 4 attack is like great. I mean, you need a wild, but Hex is a really good status condition, and it's kind of an uncommon status condition. And then you can even like explode it out with Soul Barb to other characters. Um, so he just does a good job of like he moves around, he puts out status conditions, he boosts your allies. Like he just does a lot of kind of nice things, and it all comes together into like a solid character.
I think he does similar things to Arnim Zola, actually, because he's kind of like a, long range squishy support with two physical defense, except he's faster, and I'd rather have 2 dice than 2 rerolls, even if it deals damage. Honestly, he seems good with the new Red Skull because he's more
Uh,
likely to get the wilds. He's giving
uh,
people extra dice to get the skull.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Especially with Red Skull's ability to spend power off of an ally. His Master of the Occult just really makes him a souped up Wong, right? It's like
Yeah.
Wong can get an extra power and pass it off, but now Baron Mordo can get 2 power and pass both of them off to Red Skull. So that's using him as a battery there is kind of my game plan. So I think that actually might, like, you compared him to Arnim Zola, and I do agree that they're pretty similar, but I put Mordo more like a B tier, where we put Arnim Zola in a C tier.
Yeah, yeah. What you said about the power, that's a good point. You have to take a turn to activate him and boost
Right.
his power, but
It's a
then
longer play. Yeah.
he turns on the teleport though at 2 less threat than Loki. So that's
Hmm.
kind of a big deal.
It's a really good shout, John. That's like really cool, actually.
Yeah. I was looking at him earlier, and all I could think was just like, is this just like an upgraded Wong, but with less physical defense now?
Yeah, he has less
Since
physical
since
than Wong now.
since when is Wong the tanky wizard?
He is really good on the energy pay to flips as well.
Hmm. For
Just worth
sure.
keeping in mind. All right, so maybe in B below classic Red Skull.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he like has a role, but you're not going to put him in every roster. All right, Baron Strucker. So I like this guy quite a bit. You know, he's obviously a Hydra leader, so you can do the Hydra splash. He has this great builder, range 3, 5 dice energy, wild incinerate, which is phenomenal. He can randomly poison people, which is kind of whatever. But I actually really like this superpower arrogance because you can spend a power to add skulls in your attack, and then, like um the other character gets to also add skulls. But you're more likely to have more skulls because you're probably rolling more dice on offense. And then he has this built-in reroll, which I think is where he really shines because that doesn't cost power. That's just always on. It's only turned off if he's dazed, right? I think his main weakness is this 5 health. Like he has 4 physical, 3 energy, 3 mystic, which is good, but only 5 health is pretty rough. And then he has healing factor 1, but he rarely ever gets to do that because people will generally make sure they kill him on 1 turn, so he doesn't even get to heal. Maybe he's good with Baron Mordo because Baron Mordo can give him 2 extra dice and then he just heals it. Something to think about.
Yeah,
But
the all Baron list definitely has some legs, especially
yeah,
now that there's a new Baron in town. After all.
yeah, all the Barons. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you guys think of him?
I think the arrogance thing is fun, but it can really get you since you have to pay for it before rolling. I would almost rather it be like an extra power to do it like before, like right before the calculate successes step. Um, or at least like after rolling and before modifying dice, so you pay and then force your opponent to put some sort of tech into re-rolling your skulls. Well, you can't re-roll skulls, but um, I don't know. I'd rather pay more to see it first. Spend it wisely. But I know that's kind of the point, especially on a 3 threat. Um, I think I'm just salty about a recent Valkyrie game and the new Daredevil Defenders. With her, she has a pretty similar thing on offense. Um, but yeah, I think he's pretty fun. I like him better in Hydra, obviously. There's a lot of really fun Hydra tech there with some of their cards and plays that Jimmy was pulling off in that game. Um, yeah, I think he's fine in Cabal. Yeah.
I think his main
Yeah,
issue is that there's so much competition.
Yes.
He like doesn't do anything unique. Like his most unique thing is probably this like strategic genius, but the other strategic genius is also a Cabal and is probably better.
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I've never put him in a list that was pure Cabal. I think he's awesome for bringing the Hydra splash. Um, you can kind of have this go wide attrition team if you think conditions are going to be important. Um, healing factor is pretty unique, and that is sometimes cool to build into a list with like exceptional healing and crises that damage you.
And
But
leaderships that damage you.
right, yeah,
That's
it is
true.
kind of unfortunate. Arrogance has anti synergy with the new Red Skull leadership.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like you guys said, I think he just gets pushed out by all the other good characters, and then especially Three Threat Zemo having his best superpower. It's like you just take Baron Zemo instead of him. Is usually what I end up doing.
Do you
Yeah,
think C tier is fair?
yeah, I'd agree with C tier. I think he would be fun to play like an LGS game where he's in Cabal, like a Red Skull 3, Master of the World, with like him and Sabretooth and like kind of build around that healing factor game plan. I think that could be pretty fun, especially throw in a Wolverine who wants to um, pay to get that extra damage or something. I think that could be pretty fun.
Yeah, I think he's like a low B tier personally. Like I think he's got things he can do. They're not necessarily things that I'm doing, but you know,
I mean, let's put him top of C because I feel like he's gonna be pushed out by a bunch of other threes we're gonna do. But maybe we can bump him up later. We're seeing that characters are going over him. But let's move on to the new Baron on the block, Baron Helmet Zemo, 4 threat from the new core set. And he's another Hydra leader. I've been having a ton of fun with him doing list building and Hydra and all that. But in Cabal, do you guys think he has any play?
I mean, just right off the bat, I think the three threat version of the same thing is a lot better. They both have a version of a charge, I think new Zemo can place instead of doing a charge, not as an action. Um, but having a long move and a threat less for fairly similar things, unless you're specifically wanting his offensive capabilities, which he does hit harder. Um, yeah, I still think I like original Zemo more in Cabal.
yeah, like to me, Zemo's jobs are like run all over the board, kind of being where he needs to be, chasing down characters, and then his strategic genius bubble. And this character has a similar identity. He just hits slightly harder, but I just don't think he brings enough extra to justify him for the extra threat over Three Threat Zemo.
Right. And just like you said earlier, if you take new Red Skull over Malekith, that's a 4 threat and a 3 threat for the price of one. So I think, this Baron Zemo is a great numbers game just to be able to throw in a 3 threat that's really going to do a lot with whatever game plan you have. Um, Synergizing with pretty much, yeah, every leader that you're going to play, all three of them.
I think I'd like 4 threat Zemo a lot better if Quick Step wasn't held back by the not holding a token. Because charge is almost strictly better. It's not because Quick Step lets this Zemo move 3 times in a turn. And I think 3 mediums is longer than 2 longs, right? I'm not 100% sure about that, but
It
probably.
sounds right. Like you
Um,
can you can get to something to pick it up, or like it can work out in your favor with the not having the objective token, but it's kind of like I know you've had some issues with like Gwenpool in the past where she's very much limited by that condition on her movement. Um, yeah, it depends on your game plan, obviously. If you're going strictly attrition and you have someone else that's going through and cleaning up um, extracts, maybe it's worth it. But to me, it's more often than not uh, not really worth it.
you guys don't think
Yeah,
the pistol is worth as much? Because that's really the most unique thing about this one.
It is true. It is a pretty fun thing fishing for all the different triggers. The
I
range
would
four
have to.
stagger. Ooh,
Yeah, I'd have to look through the database, but this might be one of the most consistent ways to slow someone from long range. a lot of the other long range slows are like 4 dice attacks with a wild trigger, and he has reroll. So that could be something. Like if you really wanted to slow somebody, he does it pretty darn consistently. And then, I mean, even the stagger, if you give him a little bit of help with consistency, I mean, he can hand those out. Um, I don't know. To me, I think the best thing this Zemo brings is if you want to dual affiliate with Hydra, I think he's the best leader to do that. Because, like you showed us, Jim, I think he has a really strong turn one plan to like grab all the extracts and then turn the game into like more of an objective focused game where you're trying to stay up on points. And that's like a very different game plan than the attrition game plan that Cabal have. And whenever you're bringing multiple leaders, I like for them to have very different plans because it's kind of pointless to have multiple versions of the same plan. Um, so I like that about him. Um, I don't know, it might be a B tier for me.
It's a good call, Bob. That's not something I thought about because there's so much Cabal Hydra overlap that it would be easy to just switch into Hydra. But now that I think about it, Dark Rain with this pistol, you could be staggering people at range 4 fairly consistently.
Yeah, that is pretty fun.
But I think
I
Dark Rain, he just would have killed them, right?
Yeah. So I like that. I like that his new card, I am a Baron after all. I think that could be a pretty fun card. I like that it's available for both of them. I like when AMG gives us that and kind of make sure it's balanced for all different versions. Same with Red Skull. I think most of his are on most of the versions, but I think that has a lot of legs with new Red Skull. Um, I think I almost like it better on the 4 threat Zemo just because, removing all that damage that you're taking from the leadership maybe um kind of keeps you in it. If you are kind of racking it up and you can play this round 3 and you kind of hang on for another turn or something. Um yeah, I'd say B tier. I like him there. I think not as a leader, I'm probably taking this card. Um which I think it could be pretty fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
what do we think of classic Baron Zemo?
I'm gonna jump in and say I think this is our first S tier character. Um, he's still relevant, even though he's a core set character. He's just so good. I a lot of people when they talk about splash threes, he's always in the conversation. Um, and it's just because he's a long mover, he's got a charge, so his mobility is incredible, and his damage is very efficient for his threat. And he's even, reasonably resilient. He's not the tankiest 3 threat, but he's a character honestly who plays better than he looks. When you look at the card, you're like, oh, I mean, a lot of 3 threat characters have 5 dice attacks and 5 health, but he just the way his whole kit comes together is so good, and his new card is insanely good because of how flexible it is. Like you're just like Zemo is gonna do what you need him to do every game because he's just so fast and he has so many options. And now he has this really flexible card. So I think he's an S tier for Cabal.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else there is to say. Like, this spender might be one of the best in the game. Range 3, 2 power, free move no matter what. You can get rerolls
Range
on it.
three. He can move long and then make a range 3 attack and then move medium after that, which, I was playing a game recently against Web Warriors and had a character move like way far away with an extract. Like they thought they were safe. And Zemo got there in a single charge action, charge, steel rush, kill you. And then media move back into the fray and attack somebody else. Like you can do some wild things.
Yeah. I mean, he was good, and then he got the new card, and I think he's great with the new Red Skull. So yeah, I think he's easy S tier, and you know, we're all on the same page.
Yeah, we're gonna be on a streak of S tiers here with the next two threats.
Bob, Agent of Hydra. Tell us about Bob then, John.
I honestly have no idea how to use him, but I know I love two threats. Out of all the two threats in the game, he makes the least amount of sense to me, but he's just so much fun, right? Like he can just run in, blow everything up, including himself first and foremost. um, I have never used him successfully, but uh, just having him out there is it's just a fun game plan. Yeah, I think with the Red Skull, he doesn't really care about taking that damage from the leadership. You obviously you don't want to spend the power that you're trying to save up for your excessive violence, right? But if he's at zero, I think he doesn't mind taking the damage from the leadership just to like kind of take some extra power off of it. I don't know. I think he's fun. He doesn't have a builder; he has a gainer, so that's the dumb point. But yeah, I think that's the law. That's most of it for me. I think for a two threat,
Yeah,
he's fun, but maybe not the most competitive two threat.
we know you love two threats, John. um, I played against a really good Hydra player at Nova in the team tournament, and he kind of showed me how to use Bob. I feel like, but because I had never really appreciated it before. He's actually, I think he's really good in a wide team. Like if you're wider than your opponent and your plan is just to go last with him, it's really annoying that it's like impossible to get rid of him. And so he can stay like way out to the side where it's inconvenient to come after him. And then he's always threatening just to like run in and stand on whatever secure is sort of vulnerable or to pick up an extract that got left on the ground. It just having this character who's so sticky and low threat and can kind of just do that for you actually is pretty good. Um, it is totally reliant on being wider than your opponent because if you go with him and your opponent still has someone activate, he's gone. Um, but if he's the last activation, he's almost, immortal. And yeah, he can score you some points actually. Like do you also get what I'm saying? Like, there's like four secures.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bob's plan is just to like double move to one of them. And you can't like guarantee that none of those secures are not going to then flip to your opponent because he did that. Like he'll just go to whichever one will let him do that.
yeah, yeah. I think that's definitely what I like most about two threats is that a lot of them you get so much out of it for what you're paying to bring them in the game. Like, if we're moving on to Bullseye next, like he and Bob both are great to just like go stand on a point, score that, and if anyone comes up to him, you're gonna be able to poke them back. Like you might go down, but what are they investing on that area of the map on a two threat away from everything else that they could be doing? Um, so yeah, I really like that aspect of it.
I really like Bob because this like rocket attack, you can use it turn one and just hope for the turn one days, which is fine. But there are times where I'll just hold it and I'll just like hold this rocket all game, and they have no idea when I'm gonna fire it off. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna have this rocket in my back pocket. It's gonna blow up, deal two damage to multiple people, hopefully one shot somebody. So that's like cool, right? But I think touching on what Bobby said too, what makes him so good is Hydra tactics. Like he could just like fly across the board. Like he could move, Hydra tactic again, and then move medium to get anywhere on the board. Because this like pistol is a guaranteed one power. which then if you're using core set Red Skull, you can get 2 power, which is a free Hydra tactic, right? Or and then like the new Red Skull, makes his missile, you know, more dangerous, which is great. Uh, and you do need to be wider. So he's probably best with Sin because Sin really likes going wide. He is a pain in the butt with her because he just stands next to somebody, makes them drop tokens, pushes them off of points, and he's never dying, right? It's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how do I stop this? And you can't because it's Bob. But, we said Sin's not great, but I think another issue with him is that Bullseye is so good. So people are like, why would I play Bob when I have Bullseye? So like if Bullseye didn't exist, I think Bob would see a ton of play. But Bullseye does exist. So what do you guys think? Like maybe B for me.
Yeah,
I
I think
would,
he's an easy B tier.
yeah, I would say more towards the bottom of B. Um, which is I don't know if that's a little nitpicky, but yeah, I think he can definitely have a roster built with him in mind, depending on which leadership style you're kind of going with. But yeah, I definitely think Bullseye is my pick for two threats and a lot of affiliations, a lot of lists here. He's just he's just so good. I've seen him do so many good things with you for you in criminals, and I know he
Yeah.
can do the same thing in Cabal. Um, kind of like we were
Yeah,
saying
we
with Bob, just that value for what you're paying is just so good. He guarantees that 1 damage, which screws me over so often. Just that 1 damage every time, just ah. Oh man. Plus he's fairly mobile with his parting shot. He likes to just sit on that point, and if you come after him, he just throws some daggers at you and hops away.
Yeah. No, I like love Bullseye. We like put him in S tier for criminals. I think he's also S tier in Cabal. Because you'd argue he's even better in Cabal because he's dealing that, consistent damage that criminals don't really need. Uh, yeah, super mobile, like John said, with hit and run. Pincushion does like a surprising amount of damage. And with classic Red Skull, that can gain you a lot of power to just do it again. What do you think of Bullseye, Bob? Is he S tier or A tier?
I think he's S tier for all the reasons you guys said. It Having such a solid two threat is a big strength of the affiliation. Um, you know,
Yeah.
he's gonna
Plus,
do good work for you.
one of your leaders is 7 threat, so you like have to have a 2 threat to make numbers work. So yeah, Bullseye's great. We don't need to harp on him, but
Yeah, he's
Cassandra Nova.
just before we move on, I just want to say
Uh,
Bullseye is the best two threat for Cabal and criminals until we get Stiltman.
Stilt
You and your
man,
stilt man.
size 5, 2 threat.
It's coming. It's
We
coming, folks.
I gotta shout out John. He made an amazing diorama of Stiltman and Daredevil fighting each other for the Fury's Finest competition. So everyone should go check that out and vote for him.
Go vote for it.
Yeah,
Voting's free
very.
to the public, right?
I think so. Yeah,
And
very,
if you
very
didn't know,
excited.
if you don't know who Stiltman is, like I definitely didn't until John started bombarding our group chat about Stiltman. Um, he is certainly a comic book character.
He is one of the characters of all time.
Yes, he really is. um, Here, I'll talk about Cassandra in a second. I did want to. There was one more thing about Bob actually that you kind of mentioned this, Jim, like saving the rocket. I think saving the rocket is definitely the right thing to do because it can put your opponent in a sticky situation where they want to double up characters on an objective, but if one of them is like down to 1 or 2 health, like that guaranteed 2 damage is a big deal. And if like it can really make your opponent make some bad decisions where they're like, this is just a free days for my opponent. If I move this character up, they're going to take splash damage, so I can't do that. Which is kind of a lot of influence coming from a two threat character.
Yeah. I mean, I think literally the fact that he can't die if you play him correctly is just like insane. It's literally, unique to the game. So I think just the fact that he's unique keeps him in B, if not higher. I like want to put him at the top of B, but it doesn't really matter. All right, well, let's move on to Cassandra Nova.
Um,
I've never, or that's not true. I have used her once or twice. I'm not a huge fan of her, so maybe one of you guys can hype her up first.
I think she's great in Spider Foes. I
Yeah,
think she's pretty fun with her her booby traps. I can't remember the name of it. Psychic distraction. Um, I've gotten just absolutely nailed on that because I forget that she has it. I think she's not bad. I think she has a lot of tools at her disposal. Just being a five threat for what she is kind of a lot to ask in Cabal because there's just so many other pieces. I think some of her other affiliations, she's a much bigger chunk of the game plan and fits better there, maybe. Um, I like her, but yeah, Cabal is not my favorite home.
yeah, she does a lot of really cool things. You know, before Pyro came out, her biokinesis, root and slow was a pretty strong superpower. Now it's kind of outclassed by Pyro's firewall. Her mental domination card is very good, like very good, honestly. Um, because it doesn't cost her an action. So and then it like is character displacement and a little bit of damage. So that is definitely one of her highlights. Um, but you know, it's like she's got this really cool kit with like she's got stealth, and then if you try to come in her stealth range, she can out of stealth range and do damage to you. She's got healing factor, so she's pretty, you know, all that together actually makes her pretty tanky. She has like guaranteed character displacement with her mind possession, but I think what ends up happening is like you really want to use mind possession because it's her best attack, but then that means you need to stay in range three. So then you kind of let your opponent attack you, and then you have two physical defense, and then she kind of dies. Um, that's what I see happen with her a lot. And she's very power hungry. Like to really do all her tricks, she just needs a ton of power. So she doesn't quite get there. You know, she's in an affiliation that has some of the best five threats in the game. So she's just not quite good enough. I think she's a C tier.
yeah. I do like her in Sentinels, which Sentinels
Okay,
tier
you
list at some point.
have to.
But I am not a fan, honestly. Again, it's the two physical defense, which she has the built-in brace for impact, which is great. Um, but it's like literally what Bobby said. Her like best attack is range three, and you have stuff to keep you out of range three. She's just awkward. She doesn't have any way, no charge, no places, no hit and run, nothing like that. She has really questionable action economy. You know, like when you look at her and then the new Black Bolt, he has similar issues, but at least when he attacks, he's gonna like kill what he's attacking, right? It's like Cassandra is just kind of like doing all these flashy tricks, but nothing's actually happening, you know? It's like, plus her traps are like not guaranteed to go off. So if they charge into her range and she whiffs on that, she's just dead,
And out of
you
power.
know? Yeah, and out of power to do her various attacks and whatever. And
Yeah,
and this is just strictly worse than Pyro now. It's biokinesis.
true.
So
I would put her in C tier just because she fits well with my Master of the World Red Skull healing factor list.
she does have healing factor. So with Baron Strucker, it's Sabretooth, but Yeah, player foes and sentinels.
All right. But we haven't had any D tier yet, so let's cover crossbones.
God, why would you break it down like
No,
that?
straight to the heart. But like honestly though, you might be right.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions being posed with new versions of old characters, and there's not many questions left on these two crossbones, are there? Like, I mean, there's some synergy with Sin, and that's about the only benefit he would have over the other one, right?
Maybe he's not D tier because you always play him in Sin, so he's not totally useless.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
I I'm
Like,
I
like like D tier doesn't have to be characters we truly never ever play.
I know.
He's at the bottom of the list for me. We talked about him a lot in the criminal video. It just is that he is so slow and has short range attacks and low defense dice too on energy and mystic. It all kind of comes together to cause some issues.
He has not aged very well, like the new Zemo. What do you guys think of his new card? Because it is Cabal only, so it's worth mentioning. He just
yeah,
plays it for free. He can't be moved, and he gets to reroll defense dice.
that is a great card on the other crossbones. I mean, because when we talked about like that is nice for him because throwing him any distance is a stagger at a minimum, right? Sometimes it's even like a stagger and a half. Like if someone throws you medium, you almost have to move twice because you're moving short. Um, I think it would be a great card for him if he could also play it in criminals. That would be so much fun with Kingpin, but it still doesn't push him over the threshold for me to consider taking really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good card. I think it gets more value if your opponent is like pure physical attacks. So then you're rerolling 4 physical dice, which is amazing. So if you're against like a team that's really heavy on physical, it's good.
Marvel Knights. I ran into that playing Daredevil the other night. I was so excited to play Daredevil, and I was like, wait a second, I only have physical attacks.
yeah. All right. So how about the new Crossbones? What do you guys think of him? Energy Beam.
He is better, to say the least. The hit and run is huge. I know aggressive is always nice, but the hit and run, I think that was a key upgrade there. I know he's still small base, short move, but yeah, he's got the range with the beam to kind of beam with a gainer is always fun, but being able to do that and then potentially pay for a hit and run on a second beam or something like that, it's just yeah, so much better. I don't know. He's not S tier, obviously, but I I actually consider him at the 3 threat slot now instead of uh whereas the last crossbones I would never consider.
He seems great at playing Dark Rain because he can Plasmic Beam, hopefully hit 2 characters, then you're up to 3 power, and you can play Dark Rain. He does seem good with the new card, but my issue with the new card is you just hit him with Energy or Mystic and he just dies. But what do you think of him, Bob?
I like him a lot. I think he's a great like um like central map specialist. Like he's a great research character, great gamma character. You always want to plan for those crises that just throw everyone into the middle of the map. And I think he really excels in that situation. Having the hit and run really makes his beam solid. And, a 5 dice beam, even with a relatively uncommon Pierce, is pretty nuts on a 3 threat. Um, so I think he does kind of a pretty specific thing, and you don't want to take him all the time. But I think when he is good, he's like great. Um, so it's like top of B tier for me, I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
I
Now
don't
he
really.
just
Uh,
has passive -1 damage, just like a
yeah.
side grade to the pay one to reduce.
hmm Yeah. I don't really see him going top. I don't know. I think there's other three threat options. It just kind of depends on what you're building, what your crisis setup looks like, but I can still see it.
Yeah,
All right,
in my
well,
rosters lately, I'm just taking fewer and fewer free threats.
hmm
So I don't know if he makes the cut every time,
Yeah,
but
I find myself with my I've just been playing a lot of Daredevil lately. I just find myself taking as many four threats as I can and then adding whatever I need at the end to like make the math work. Um, whereas it used to be like, you take a few three threats and then you add your four and your five or whatever. Um, and I guess that's by design. We've had a lot of four threat releases. Um, and Enchantress is four threat, right?
yep.
So yeah, there's a lot of competition at the four threat that are all pretty good. And I recently got wrecked by an enchantress, so I have a newfound appreciation for some of these things. Kind of like the Cassandra Nova play, you just kind of have to be aware of what she can do whenever you're moving around because if she has the power, which she can have being Asgardian, like um, she can really just mess up your day, stealing your stuff and moving up towards you or moving you towards her. Terrain throws. I think she has a great kit. Um, I think she's seeing a decent amount of play lately.
yeah, I like Enchantress. I think she does a lot of unique things. She's got a mind control ability, and she's only four threat. A lot of times you see that on higher threat characters. She can steal things, which now with Black Cat being nerfed, um, she's really kind of is more level with the other characters who can do it. Um, her beam is super good. Uh, gives her really good power economy. She, she's a little bit susceptible to getting blown up if the opponent can pay the power to reduce her defenses. Um, but if she's off like on the side, your opponent is going to need like a pretty specific character to deal with her efficiently, and she's just got really good power economy, and she's going to threaten to like move and steal. So she finds a spot in a lot of my lists. Her tactics card is cool too because uh, it has no distance restriction, and it can like move Scourge across like the entire map.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a second brace for impact, which a lot of Cabal characters actually don't like having stuff thrown at them. So I find myself putting her and Scourge into my lists. I don't take them super often, but they can do some work.
This card can do some janky stuff. Um, like there's a whole list we came up with where you throw your own Black Panther into somebody and then like summon Scourge. Like that just works because that
Yeah.
character is taking a collision. They just want to take damage. But I like love Scourge. But anyways, going back to her, I actually really like her. I like really like her in Asgard too. And she's so strong round one and two. Because like round one, I like hold her to the last activation, double move her to a secure, and then sirens call them off of the secure. So I am now holding it. And when round two starts and they counterattack, they're probably not going to have two power to pay for the defense, and she's going to have five mystic defense against it. So, but she like quickly tails off, right? Because they have power to pay for this defense tech. So I think late game you want to like steal an asset and just like get the hell out of there. Um,
She's
That was
kind
a
of
good
everything that
shout out, Jim.
Yeah, she's kind of
Yeah,
everything that Mysterio wants to be or pretends to be with his illusions.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, turn one little mini Mystique, um, like deception play, almost. I do really like her. I think she's honestly like low A tier for me, which might just be recency bias, playing against an Asgard player, but I think she has a lot of room here, especially with that extra power she can pay for new Red Skull. Not as much as Loki, but you know, still
yeah.
options.
That was a great that was a great summary of how to play her, Jim. I
Thanks.
we should yeah, I no surprise coming from you, our most objective focused player. I hadn't even thought about the double move Siren's Call. That is a crazy turn one play. No one's ever done that to me. Um
He's one of the only characters in the game that can do that.
yeah, wow.
Like,
That's what got me
honestly.
thinking. Yeah, that's
Um,
cool.
because even the other characters with this same superpower don't get two power turn one. Like the new Ultron, MODOK, Mr. Sinister can't do it for multiple reasons. There's probably other people that I can't think of, but um, yeah, like at four threat mostly. But she does tail off. Like she will die if you leave her in danger. But yeah, I was kind of hoping we'd put her in A. Do you like her in A, Bob?
Yeah, I think that's the perfect spot for
Okay.
her.
Yeah, I think the bottom of A as we fill this out will fit nicely. Well, cool. All right, Hood. I love Hood in Criminal Syndicate, and I haven't used him in Cabal a whole lot, but I think he's a great three threat. Like he's tanky when he transforms. How do I go to transform? Oh, here we go. Like he's really hard to kill. You basically have to hope you one shot him, which is really hard to do through his cloak. Like don't just run him up there turn one and get him one shot. Like hold him back turn one. So turn two, he can go in and start doing things. But this like Mystic Rapid Fire is like, unique to the whole game. And, I like say that a lot, but I value characters that do something, you know, unique, right? 'Cause it's like I'm gonna reach for this character if I need this one specific thing. And that's why I would rank them highly. Do you guys like Hood?
Oh yeah. Um, Transforming characters are always fun. You know, it's just a lot of you get to play with more toys for the price. I think his black arts, the healing move that he has, can have a lot of legs with new Red Skull. If you're kind of power hungry and like spending power off of people for the teleports and stuff like that, and everyone else is kind of having to damage themselves or getting damaged, uh, using the leadership, I think having that healing can go a long way. Um, I think there's a lot of Hood game plans where you kind of just plan on staying in normal form as much as you can, like hanging back, rapid firing into people, and healing, which is not a bad plan at all. But then when you do need to flip, I think yeah, he has the tools to kind of hold his own there. As a three threat, I really like him. I think he is higher than he was now that we have the new Red Skull.
Yeah, I think Hood is great. He's just generally very solid character. He's very rewarding to play. I've played him a lot, and managing all the transformations like he places every time he transforms. He has a charge, but only on his transform side. Each of his sides are super different in what they do. He's a really cool character, but he's just really strong, just very generally strong. I think he's an A tier character. What do you guys think?
I mean, I honestly don't use the heal very much on Hood.
Really?
Yeah, I like try and keep him transformed as often as possible and just run in and kill people.
Which is the
Which,
exact opposite of what I thought you would have said as a Kingpin player.
right, I know, but it's like this is a crazy attack. Like charge 6 dice on a three threat. Um,
That is true.
but I mean that just adds to his like viability, right? It's like he has
Hmm.
multiple avenues of like success. It's like you could play him the range 3 healer, or you can play him the demon dude that runs in and slices people up.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think when you see a good opportunity to heal, it's great, but I wouldn't like force him into the healing role because it's going to limit his potential, because he does great things when he's not focusing on that too.
I also just want to shout out this spender really quick, mostly in possess form. But 8 dice, range 3, wilds deal 2 damage to allies within 3, and it auto shocks, and it has a guaranteed transform, so you can like move on to a point. This is what you should be doing with your power, is what I think. It's like spend 2 power to charge in, hopefully deal a bunch of damage, and then use Dark Lightning. Like that is my favorite way to play Hood. But yeah, I think Hood is an easy A tier. All right, Killmonger. This is one of Bobby's favorite characters. So Bob, tell us about him.
Yeah, so when I started playing Marvel Crisis Protocol, I was dropping OG Red Skull and Killmonger, and Killmonger would play Usurp the Throne, get extra dice, he'd run in and attack, and then Red Skull would Cosmic Invigorate him, and he'd get to attack even more. And it's kind of a wild combo, but I mean, you can like delete Hulks with that and things. He's got a very specific role, which is just killing the big guy, and he needs a lot of power to like really go off. He's not like your all around always going to be good character, but when he's good, he is awesome and really fun. He, he kind of feels like an attack damage carry from League of Legends, where he's just like once he gets that momentum, he's got those kill count tokens. He's just murdering people. But I think we put him B tier with criminals just because murder is really all he does, and I do think he's better in Cabal, um, just because he synergizes with the leaderships really well. Like,
He also
yeah,
gets Dark Rain.
yeah, and Dark Rain is huge. He loves the consistency from that. So I think I mean, he still only does the one thing, but he does it better in Cabal. So I'm not sure where that puts him, either low A or high B.
Might put him top of B just
Yeah.
because he has 0 control. He's literally all damage, but he's one of the few ways to get extra victory points. And with Dark Rain, it's like likely that you'll do it.
That you can choose when to do it, which is pretty
Right.
huge. Yeah. No, I think I agree with the placement. I thought close to Enchantress, and like it just kind of depends on what game plan you're going for, whether you're building around one or the other. But yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
He
if
seems
there's anyone
great
out
with the
there,
new Red Skull.
yeah, he loves that because he has a big dice pool. Um,
Yeah.
if there's anyone out there who like hates big models and there's like someone at their store that's like just bullying them with Thanos and Immortal Hulk and stuff, like I think Cabal is the best leadership at or Cabal is the best affiliation at just murdering a single big model. And you should take Killmonger and give it a try.
The fourth threat you should not take though is up next.
Killmonger will just kill Hulks. But yeah, so next is Kingpin, who is like my favorite character, who everyone knows if they've watched any videos on this channel. So in Criminals he was S tier, and I think he's also in Cabal and Spider Foes. I think there he's not nearly as good, just because his leadership is so insane, and there's a lot of characters that do similar things to what he does, s- like but better, and they're faster than him. I think I'm gonna put him in C for Cabal.
Yeah, I honestly don't know that I've ever seen him outside of his leadership, really, other than just someone playing around with spider foes. Definitely never seen him in Cabal. Um, yeah, I think his leadership is what's baked into his fourth threat, and without it, yeah. I know I agree with C tier.
I mean, he's still good, right? Like his
Yeah.
spender is insane. He has a 2 power, size 3 character or terrain throw. He's tanky. Just
Just four
just
threat
hit
is so competitive.
right. And his main weakness is he's so slow. And in criminals, you're willing to put up with that because of the leadership. But everywhere else, it's like he's he's a liability being that slow. Like literally, I think it was last week we were texting about Winter Guard, and I looked up Ursa Major. This dude does like almost the exact same thing as Kingpin, except he has a charge. Like, just play Ursa Major if you want that same role, you know?
They're basically the same person.
Yeah, like giant bear, giant criminal overlord, kind of the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Kingpin can throw characters, whereas Ursa can't, but their spenders are very similar. I think everything you said is true, Jim. Um, we've kind of brewed up some like criminal slash cabal dual affiliation lists before, which are interesting. Um, but yeah, I think nothing else really to say.
But it's like now both of those factions have 4 leaders, so there's no reason to like dual affiliate. Unless you're in Cabal and you want a more crisis-focused game plan for certain scenarios, then maybe you throw in Kingpin, because there's so many characters that are in Cabal and criminals. But as a pure Cabal character, he he doesn't cut the mustard.
Yeah.
So
I
next
think
up is or what's that?
Oh, I was just leading into to Claw. I think
Okay, yeah.
as far as bringing some of those criminal leaders into Cabal, I like the Claw splash a little bit more. Um, just because I don't love his leadership on its own, which I know you've had some success with Claw in general, but if you have a specific crisis in mind, I love him there. You had some great matchups with him on I think it was Researcher, uh, just like that super narrow, thin map, which Cabal already likes. I think he has a home there. He's just kind of expensive, um, but he is a ton of fun. He's got some fun cards, which I don't know how often you're taking those, but since Cabal has some room for character specific stuff, uh, I think he's a pretty fun one to play. He's way tankier than I think he is when I'm attacking him. Um, and he's got some control moving people around.
So I use Claw like a decent amount at Nova, and he like surprised people because of this number right here, this 6 strength on his Sonic Blast. Like that is really good for a builder. And like wild, well, I mean, that one you don't care about, but the crit wild stun is so good when you're trying to just kill people. Because once you're stunned, you don't get power from taking damage. This beam 5 is crazy with the Pierce. Um, he is like surprisingly tanky because he can heal himself, 7 health, 5 energy defense, which actually this is something I was thinking about the other day. If you hate Cosmic Ghost Rider, bring Claw because he has 5 energy defense, can't be lit on fire. Like he could probably kill a Cosmic Ghost Rider. I mean, I don't know. Does that sound good to you guys, or is that just like
Yeah,
wish listing?
Guardians absolutely hate him. He's
Yeah.
he's a headache and a half against most Guardians.
Yeah, yeah, he's a great meta choice for Guardians. And then the stun too. Cosmic Ghost Rider hates that stun. Um,
So
so
much.
yeah, I think he's got a lot of competition at 5 threat. We got Ulik, the new Ultron, Modoc. So
Cassandra
it's a
Nova.
tough it's a tough
Cassandra
slot,
Nova.
but I do think he's a good meta pick right now. Um, so yeah, I like him.
He looks questionable on paper, but once you actually play him, it's like, oh, this is awesome. It's like I almost never use the sound wave barrier to push people, but people just you know play it so they never like that's never even an option, right? And I'm like, okay, I have 10 power for this sonic shockwave to just kill you. It's like, you can either pick to be pushed or blown up. And then this extra power he gets is like so clutch. He has 10 power so often for two beams. It's shocking. All right, but where do we put him? Do we put him maybe in B tier? Like he's a meta choice with five threat kind of pushes him out.
He's tough to rank.
Yeah, I mean, he's consistent enough that I am leaning towards bottom of A, but I think I don't know, if the meta changes, could he just fall out? Absolutely. But I don't know. I'm leaning towards bottom of A.
His power synergy is so good, or his power generation is so good. He can feed the new Red Skull really well. Um, he could be using Red Skull's superpowers a lot. I like him. I think I think A is okay for him. Even though he's A, you might end up not putting him in your roster if you decide you want the other five threats. Um, but he's solid, and the short move from Malekith's leadership is also incredible with him. Can help guarantee you get two attacks. So
Yeah, I mean, that's fine with me. I do love Claw, and I like do love his leadership. I always keep wanting to try it out. But all right, next up is Loki. Loki is a really interesting character. And I just want to say right off the bat, the space stone is no longer restricted. And that was a huge thing that hurt Loki because the space stone lets him move up, place range two, and still have a power to interact. Like getting three power turn one is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you guys talked earlier about Bobby's play with new Red Skull turn one with all that power. Do you ever take Loki now without the space gem? Like, do you ever play him as a four threat, or is he just like, is that staple to him now in Cabal?
I don't think the space gem is staple to him. The mind gem is really good on him too. He he does a lot of different things, and I think he is hard to play. Like I think he really rewards a lot of practice because he's so versatile. Like you can extract steal with him. Like Jimmy just said, you can move space gem, grab an extract, move back. So he's a turn one extract play. He's power battery. He actually does pretty good damage when you count blanks with him. You can like make puzzles for the opponent with trickster. You can mess up their plans with mind gem, moving them around. Um, I think the only thing he doesn't do is just like a ton of good damage. Like he's more of a like five threat bullying a three threat in terms of damage. Like he's not going to punch up with his damage. But God of Mischief is a really unique aura. It gets really tricky with positioning, like making sure that you keep him safe but still get the benefit of that. He I honestly I need to play with him more. I think he's got a lot of potential and I don't even fully understand him.
Yeah, when you like brought out that turn one play against me, the new Red Skull, I was like, oh my God, this is serious. Like that seems really good because, I like mentioned it with Red Skull earlier, but it's like you can move up your giant killie piece or whoever you want. And then later in the game, he still has this aura. And once he's injured, they're hexed and you're counting skulls. Like there's just like layers of like dice like consistency going on that puts you at a huge advantage. And this counting blanks on attacks is like really, really good. Like that on his strike. I mean, that's like the new, well, not the new Red Skull. That's like Red Skull 2, right? Well,
Mm.
it's very similar. Or like Corvus Glaive. I mean, that can do a lot of damage. I think the hardest part of him is always leaving a power for Trickster. And that's just like really difficult to do because he will die if you mess up. You're like 5 health, 334. That's terrible, right? But this Hex Aura helps out a lot with that. So I think Loki is great, actually. I like kind of want to put him in A tier.
Yeah, I think so. Um, he messes up charges with his superpower thing. He you got to practice with him, but yeah, I agree. I think A tier.
All right, cool. That's
Um,
Loki.
what you
I
said about
feel
counting blanks, when you have multiple like layers of dice consistency, it starts to be like even more than the sum of the parts. Like when you're counting blanks and your skulls are crits, that is like your 5 dice really hit pretty hard at that point, and it's like synergistic. It's better than um, even you would expect.
just math wise, like how many options are there on a single die, and like a majority of them are counting for successes now.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
shield's the only one that's not a
Yeah.
success. Yeah, so
and that's one of 8.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
which is
Loki is really good with the new Red Skull. Like
definitely.
worth checking out more for sure. But I like him in A tier. Uh, all right,
Yeah.
well, let's move on to Magneto, who I
Yeah.
think is a great character, but I never see him in Cabal. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I love Magneto as his as the Brotherhood leader. You're pretty much anytime I see Magneto, I'm thinking Brotherhood, Asteroid M, right? And he can still take Asteroid M and Cabal, but without that leadership, he's just missing a lot of opportunities, right? With his all the terrain synergies that he's really looking for with all of his magnetism. Um, and at sixth threat, I don't know. I feel like without the leadership, most of the five threats are better. And he just is kind of falling flat. Not to say he's bad per se. I just think there's better options for the price.
Just want to clarify really quick that he cannot take Asteroid M because that's a Brotherhood only card.
Is it really?
Yeah. So
Oh, well,
that,
D tier.
oh gosh, I don't know. So we were talking about doing a Brotherhood tier list, so I thought about this guy quite a bit,
Hmm.
and I mean, he just is straight up the sixth threat. That's the easiest to just ruin their day, right? Like he has no way to come back and like recover from a stagger or a medium throw or any of that. And he really feeds off of his own leadership. And if he's not getting the leadership, he doesn't function nearly as well.
Son of a gun, Asteroid M, Brotherhood of Mutants.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I forgot that two people had to play it.
yeah. Even in Brotherhood, where he has a lot more things going for him, he was like top tier for a while. And
Oh
now
yeah.
he's kind of, I think he's still competitive, but probably not top tier anymore. Like as a Brotherhood leader, but without all those things that Brotherhood brings for him, I really he just doesn't keep up with other six threats anymore. Um, like
Yeah,
he's low C tier for me. I think
yeah, I'd
in
agree with that.
Cabal.
Yeah,
It,
specifically Cabal that we're doing this list for. I
yeah,
would say low C tier. Just it's
I mean,
not very often I'm gonna even put him in a roster for the sake of Cabal.
honestly, maybe even D tier, which is like, I mean, maybe that's harsh, but I just don't see him like without having a Brotherhood affiliation. You know, I don't know why you'd play him.
I mean, I'm kind of thinking D tier as well, but with the new Red Skull can teleport in range 3. He makes him even better at dice. He doesn't help him with power. I think one of his big weaknesses is this like defensive tech costs 2 power. Like you basically have to do that on every single attack because his physical and energy defense are so low.
Yeah, I mean, Magneto has 6 health. I mean, like you just said, he has 6 health and 3 physical defense. Like, and that is highly suspect for a 6 threat. Like, I mean, compare that to Hulk, who has 20 health. You know, he
Yeah.
he goes down way too easy for a 6 threat. And like you said, throwing in medium is like pretty disastrous for him.
Maybe
Yeah,
he's D tier, guys.
I think you have talking to Asteroid D.
Oh no.
And like, this is not to say Magneto's bad. Like, he has a lot. He has his cover card, his Asteroid M card, and his leadership all are locked behind Brotherhood. So I just think he needs all of that to, you know, not be bad.
No, yeah, I think I agree with all that. And now we can move on to our next S tier.
Sorry, Zoom was being weird for a second. All right. Mr. Sinister. So Bobby's played a decent amount of Mr. Sinister. So tell us how
Bobby,
he works.
Bobby, I don't think you heard me call Mr. Sinister S tier.
He's S tier for Sinister. Yeah, so I like Mr. Sinister. He's a pet character of mine. Um, he I mean, he does have some strengths, like he really does. Like, he's fast, he's a medium mover, medium base. He is deceptively tanky with his genetic sample tokens. He has guaranteed movement on people with his mind control. Um, his damage is like a little suspect. If you can line up the beam, it's okay. Um, I think where things start to fall apart is just like his kit. It the pieces don't quite all work together. Um, like, he really needs the tokens to be rooting people and keeping himself alive, but then to get a token, he has to spend a power on his spender, then that doesn't give him any power. So then he's power starved. So, and then he has no action economy whatsoever. So he does cool things, but he just doesn't quite work like you want him to, unfortunately. I I tried to make him work when I first started playing, but it just didn't quite work out.
Yeah, I think I would probably call him C tier because I think in this hypothetical healing factor Cabal team, he could be pretty fun. Um, being able to use his forced extraction card on his allies and they can heal it back, which I don't know if that could be more of like a brotherhood thing, but um, I think he could have some legs there with New Red Skull, but you'd have to kind of gun for that specifically. So I think C tier is probably a good home for him.
Can you bring up his cloning card again, Jim?
The
I
cloning
forget
banks.
exactly what this does. Let's see. Uh,
So he plays it in the cleanup phase. And then basically each cleanup phase, he can move any number of genetic sample tokens to the card. And then during the power phase, you can remove any number of genetic sample tokens from the card. And if you do, place an unused character from your roster with threat value equal to half of the number of genetic samples removed. Put that character into play within range 1 of Mr. Sinister.
yeah. So he needs to have 6 tokens on this card to get a 3 threat character. And getting that in any kind of reasonable amount of time is not easy. Like, he's gonna need to use his other card, at which point you're talking about 2 tactics cards. And you're just jumping through a lot of hoops to do something that it's probably not gonna be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mr. Sinister is only in Cabal, so this will be our only chance to talk about him. And I was just looking at him again and counting that cloning makes card. He has 5 ways to spend genetic sample tokens, and he has 1 way to gain them. I guess he has 2 if you bring the other tactics card.
which
And
is a lot.
right. And then the way you gain genetic sample tokens costs power. So he has like 2 resources he's balancing, and he's not very good at gaining either of them. Right? Like
Yeah.
he's not great at gaining power. He literally is counting on his 5 dice strike. I think he needs a rework, honestly.
He could be
Like,
a very, very cool character with a rework. Like he's close.
yeah, he is close. And people come up with these like harebrained schemes to get him to work, right? But it's
Yeah.
costs like 4 tactics cards, and it it's just a lot. So I mean, I kind of want to put him at D, honestly, you
Oh
know.
no.
But if you guys want to put him in C, that's fine.
If
No,
he's
I
in
mean,
C, he's at the bottom,
I
honestly.
think with such a huge affiliation, we should be a little more liberal with putting people in D. You know, that's
Or
my
That's
Mr.
true.
Sinister. He
Yeah,
just needs a rework.
yeah, he and Sin are at the top of that list on the rework.
Yeah. All right. Modoc. Bobby, this is your favorite character in the whole game.
all right, Modoc, my man. I will hype Modoc every time. I dude, play Modoc. He will slap people with him. He will murder things. He is still the most I guess you can make an argument Red Skull Master of Hydra, maybe. But I'm telling you, Modoc is still just so consistent at killing things. Like and it there's other 5 threat characters that make 6 dice attacks, but they don't do it with rerolls and a long throw. Like he's the only character that has all that stuff. Like he has every way to do damage. He's got a big attack, long range. He's got throw. He's got rerolls. So he's just a powerhouse. The 4 health on the back is a glaring weakness that John pointed out last time we talked about him. If your opponent is brave enough to come at him and attack him, you can take him off the table. And he's also very susceptible to being thrown around by like characters that can throw size 4. But if your opponent's not ready for him, he will dominate the game, you know. So he's still one of my favorites. Um, I know he's kind of fallen by the wayside in the wider community, but I think he deserves more play than he gets.
Cabal's probably his best home because he's good with all the leaders.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
he loves the extra power, extra dice, the movement. Yeah. I think Modoc is phenomenal.
yeah.
Um,
You know, he works really well with Malekith. You send Malekith in, Modoc is bringing up the rear, and then Malekith dazes somebody and then brings Modoc up there with him. Um, it flows pretty well. Uh, I think it's like personal preference, honestly, like which Cabal 5 threats you take, because they're all of them except for Cassandra Nova are just like really good. So
Yeah, I was just trying to think of where I would put him, and honestly, with the rest of the fives, is probably my favorite five, but that I don't know, that might just be a character designed thing, just that classic cartoonish villain. But no, I think that's a good place for him.
yeah. And then this thing where he changes wilds to blanks when he's being attacked. That's so good.
with new
Like,
Wolverine running around, that's kind of a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, that is
right.
pretty huge.
Yep. I mean, that just counters new Steve
And
Yeah.
because,
yeah, yeah, it's like all their triggers just don't happen if they're relying on triggers. And he's kind of getting a second life from new Red Skull, I think, because he's got a leader who can teleport him 3 now. Um, and his tactics card is a very, very good tactics card. And people don't see it coming. Some of the things you do with this, it's just a free move, just a free move at some point in the game, which is
I,
super flexible and will always be good.
I thought you were talking about mind games at first. I was like, yes, yes, it is the best.
Yeah, his other cards I'm not as big of a fan of. He has some of the coolest cards in the game, but
I mean, this is also their normal move, so it could be a long move, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is true.
All right. Yeah, I mean we like love Modoc here at Syndicate Gaming. He's a fantastic character. All
Oh
right,
yeah.
Mysterio,
Yeah, speaking of long moving characters.
not Mysterio. So in my recent Criminal Syndicate update, I moved Mysterio to C and it made some people upset because they love Mysterio.
That's me. I'm people.
And I totally get it. Like I also love Mysterio. He is just a little he's just a short move, small base. Like he'd be so much better as a medium move. But that's not what he is, so that's, not what we judge him on. But
He is very situational. I've actually enjoyed him recently in Daredevil, like a Spider Foes dual affiliation with Defenders now. But playing him with Daredevil, I think, is pretty fun, just because he can move other people into range of your other characters, and he likes the rerolls and stuff. But in Cabal, I think he likes it. Um, OG Red Skull, like having that extra power is pretty nice. I like him there. New Red Skull, obviously. Malekith, getting him to move out of activation is probably pretty nice, although it is still short, so I don't know if that's worth it. I guess Red Skull could throw him around. Sin is
yeah,
also
I've
there.
I've played against
kill people
Mysterio
during
more
the
than
cleanup phase.
That is true. I
in
think I'd
someone
put
with
him in
Sid's
C.
leadership do damage. Oh
And then tricks and traps. We did it.
my
We finally found a home for Cassandra Nova.
God.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think C tier is probably still applicable for him and Cabal, which kind of pains me. We just gotta go ahead and do a Spider Foes video so we can bump him up again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the only thing I'll say is him and the new Crossbones together. That's a lot of central map control you're bringing with just two 3 threat characters. Like the two of them can hold down the researcher pretty darn well. Um, is that worth including in your list? I don't know. And you've played a lot more Mysterio than I have, Jim. But yeah,
Yeah.
And how does the timing of the Grand Illusion work with new Red Skull? Probably not well, I don't think. It's like you can't when you change all of the
Well,
wait.
this changes the other player's dice.
Why did I think he like changed some of his own?
So
Maybe I'm just confusing myself.
this is another layer of like the dice manipulation. Like you could turn
Hmm.
off all their criticals and your skulls are turning into criticals. Like your dice are just way better for that turn.
Yeah, it is limited to the one turn, but it is still pretty good.
My main
Even
issue with this card is that you just kill him or throw him away,
hmm.
right? And it's 4 power. He has so much to spend power on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's like a lot of people's favorite character, which is fine, and that's why he's in C tier. Like, you could play him and he'll work, but he's definitely not the optimal choice. But someone that might be the optimal choice is Mystique. So she was definitely S tier before they restricted Deception. Do you guys think she's still S tier now that that card is toned down a little bit, or has she taken a tumble?
I would say she still is. I think Uh, Cabal has the freedom of card choices that obviously losing a restricted slot is still big because like you can't take your generic brace patch up or whatever. But I still think it is powerful enough to build a list around it, especially with some of the other Cabal things going on. Um, yeah, I would still call her S tier in somewhere that she's already affiliated. Splashing her is a lot tougher now, but I think Cabal just kind of has the free dark reign to move her into into prominence there.
Yeah, I think she's definitely not a a free splash like she used to be. I think in Cabal though, I think she works great because Cabal is very attrition focused and her turn one deception play is a pure, I mean, almost a pure attrition play, where you bring someone in to murder them. So I think she plays to their game plan really well. And Cabal's roster is so deep, you can fill it up with like characters that have character specific cards. So you don't mind the hit on your restricted card as much. So honestly, I mean I know she's a brotherhood leader and she does a lot of cool things with them, but to me, Cabal might be her best home now. And I think in Cabal, I mean, if I'm trying to win with Cabal, I think she's always in my 10. And my opponent is going to have to think about that when we're picking squads. So to me, that makes her an S tier. Um, she's not as like quite as generically good as Zemo and Bullseye, but I think she makes S for me.
So Deception is the only restricted card that like helps you deal damage essentially, right? I mean, this is like control and damage. I mean, it's just a lot on one card, right? And I think Cabal is more than happy to pay that price. They don't care about losing a brace or patch up or whatever. And then, you know, her like shapeshifter is so good. Like, her with Dark Rain, I've seen her kill my Kingpin before because he can't, like produce damage. She's rapid firing into him. She has a guaranteed stun off of this. She's just so flexible, long move. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? I guess the only debate is if she's the very top tier character or she's below Zemo or Bullseye.
She, I think she's below them just because of like the crisis you're playing and like the threat level. Sometimes you're not going to take her and then you're down a restricted card. But like we said, I don't think Cabal really minds that so much. But
Now, moving on. Who is this guy?
I don't even know. I've literally never seen this
disrespect.
man before in my life.
This is Arkady Grigorovich Rosovich. Probably butchered that. Um, we had him in C tier in Criminal Syndicate, and I think he's better in Criminal Syndicate than he is in Cabal,
Yeah,
which is unfortunate for him because he's cool. Like, okay, I can see where he does a range 4 pull, bring people in to kill them, deal guaranteed damage. He's relatively tanky. He, I mean, just like the Criminal Syndicate video, it's like he wants 4 power to do all this, and it's like, how is he getting that power?
on a short move.
Right. He just doesn't.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty tough to get him that economy and at a four threat. Which broken record here, but it's so competitive that when are you really ever going to take him above anyone else, even if he is on the tanky side? I think he has some good homes. I like him in Hydra. I think with Baron Strucker, if you have Strucker in your list and you're dual affiliating, he might see some slots, but Cabal strictly, I'm almost leaning towards D tier. Just it's a lot to for what he brings. It's a lot.
Yeah,
There
he
might be a
just
fun
doesn't.
list with Baron Strucker, like you said, but
Yeah, he just doesn't make a ton of sense in Cabal. I think in our battle rep we did talk about how he could help set up the High Council tactics card.
Just the
Um,
extra poisons or the snares.
yeah, um the snaring, he can pull people in for the Strucker requirement on the card because he has to have two poison characters within two of him. So I'm not saying it's always going to be the most competitive thing, but that's Hydra. That's not Cabal. I think he's D tier in Cabal. So
All right,
yeah,
RPD.
he is in Winter Guard now, and you have another Winter Guard member here at the end, Winter Soldier. So if you want to do that splash, then I guess go for it. But now we have Red Skull, Master of Hydra, who was a pretty insane character, to be honest. I don't like playing against him. I think he is like, I don't know, what's the right word? He's like tricksy, but in a bad way because of this armor, right? It's like,
Yeah,
okay, well, so like, you have to pick an armor type during the power phase, and people like miss that trigger all the time. So then you're at this awkward stage where it's like, oh, well, which one, are you meant to be in? I don't know. I just don't really like this character from a like design standpoint, but he is good.
the troopers get me every time. They're so much better than I expect. I don't know. It's between them and the shield agents for my favorite grunts in the game, I think. Um, but I think the troopers are really good.
yeah, he's a little overtuned, honestly. I He's probably at the top of my list for characters who could use a little bit of a nerf. Um, the Hydra troopers basically just say like score an extra point each round that you wouldn't score otherwise, and they kind of let you have your cake and eat it too. Like they let you go really tall but still cover all your secures, which is like kind of not, there's supposed to be like a trade-off there, but he lets you cheat around that. Um, and yeah, I mean, he's just does a ton of damage. He'll get in there and murder stuff. Um, people were talking about the Malekith Red Skull Mystique team at 15 before the Malekith nerf, and they were saying like actually he was more the one that they thought was making that team insane than Malekith. Um, and he's really good under the Malekith leadership because the one way to kind of control him, he has two weaknesses. So you can either bring a lot of energy and a lot of mystic, so you can always get around his armor and just kill him. And the other thing you can do is like throw him out of range 3 because he does have to like move and then attack you, and that really limits his potential. So he does have things you can do. It's pretty much those are your two ways to play against him, I think. Um, but Malekith can move him short and help get around one of those weaknesses. Um, and then his damage is just super consistent. So yeah, he's a really good character. I think people are kind of aware of that now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess his main thing in Cabal is that you can only use him with Malekith or Sin, because you obviously can't take him with the Red Skulls. I
Yeah,
don't think you use him with Sin if you're playing Sin, but he is so good with Malekith. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
There is a trade-off there in Cabal. What you just said, it your default leader is probably the new Red Skull, and this guy obviously just de facto you can't use him there. Um, so he's taking up kind of a lot of space in your list, and I don't know how often you'll actually play him, but when you do, he's pretty nuts. So
that is
And
true. because now I think Malekith is like a flex pick to be the leader, and you want this Red Skull with Malekith, but if you're generally playing the new Red Skull, you can't do that. So maybe he'll see a little less play. What do you think, John?
I think you got to play Mr. Sinister so you can get 10 sample tokens and bring him in. Get 2 Red Skulls.
That's
It's
like
a
not
lot.
even possible. I don't think.
It would probably be a lot easier in Hydra to bring in 2 Red Skulls. um,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I agree with everything that's been said. The last couple times I've played against him, he just kind of lucked out, and I only had one. Like I wasn't as diverse in my character selection as I could have been because I wasn't planning on him being chosen. So he just like picked one armor and kept it for the whole game. And it just he's kind of a glass cannon or can be in the right matchups. Um, and that's really the way to deal with him is just blow him up. And if you don't have the diversity in your list to do that, he's a pain. Um, but yeah, I think I'd put him with the rest of the 5s and 8 tier, mostly because I've only played against him, so he's just a thorn in my side. But um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
like
him and Malekith are a package. I think they're right next to each other there in the tier list. And you're not going to always have them. It's a decision if you want to spend the slots on that. But it is a powerful thing that you can include.
Yeah. You could honestly splash Malekith, Red Skull Master Hydra, and Mystique into a roster and have a Cabal flex.
Yeah, and like any roster, really.
Right. Like
Yeah.
that's only 3 characters. So yeah, I think he's solidly A, but he's not S just because he doesn't work with the other Red Skulls.
mhm.
All right, well, let's move on to Sabretooth, classic Sabretooth. And I actually love this character. Like, like this guy is the quintessential like MCP 4 threat beater, right? It's like
Absolutely.
if you roll well with him, he is gonna dominate. If you roll poorly with him, he is terrible. And I don't know. I like personally love him. I know he's not super competitive, but I think there's some play to him. And I think his most unique thing is this counterattack, which I mean now there's like, Daredevil has a counterattack and all that kind of stuff. But his, when he's damaged, he moves short towards you and then he makes an attack. He's really, really hoping for a wild to get pierced, right? Like he lives and dies by this wild. Um, I would probably put him at like the top of C. Like if you love him, you could probably play him and make him work, but he is not the most competitive pick.
Yeah. In Cabal specifically, I think that's probably fair. Um, I've been looking into a Steve 3 and new Daredevil dual affiliated list. A guy at my local store said you know it's okay to just say you like Wolverine. But he's not wrong. And I really like the idea of Wolverine and Sabretooth together under one of those 2 new leaders, Steve 3 and Daredevil. Under Cabal, like you said, he kind of lives and dies by the wild. Um, which if you're under new Red Skull and you're treating skulls like crits and you're getting that extra die, then sure. Um, but otherwise, yeah, he's not as powerful as he could be.
Yeah, he's a long mover, which being a long mover always makes a character play better than they look because it's easy to overlook on a card. But yeah, I don't have much else to add.
Yeah, so when I use Sabretooth, I usually like double long move him to their like home secure. And hopefully I have like the healing factor card so he doesn't get one shot. But there are games I don't. And basically it's like, all right, you have to kill Sabretooth. or he's gonna just decimate whatever character you have sitting on your home point. And sometimes that's good enough, you know? Like he's like crazy if he does that and then he barely survives on one health and then he just pops off with Savage Predator, making two Savage Predators and two Claw Slashes. Like he just really goes off when he goes off, but that doesn't happen often enough, you know? All right, well, let's leave him there and see. Now, Scourge. I also really like Scourge. He's a new three threat, six dice builder, or not builder, gainer. Like that is unique, and you guys know I love things that are unique in this game. Like, what do you guys think of him?
He hits really hard, pretty consistently for a three threat. Um, he has kit to go with it. I think he's just generally solid as a three threat. I really have enjoyed playing mostly against him, but he's been just solid for what he is. I think that's the long and short of it. Um, I think he, especially with having two power, being able to pay for new Red Skull. Uh, I like him as a pretty solid like B tier choice.
He's my like workhorse three threat in Asgard and Cabal. You know, he's like the pick when you don't have a specific situation or role that you're trying to fill. If you just bring Scourge, he'll be fine. And typically, they never actually target him. He just taunts and takes all the damage to keep your Malekiths and Red Skulls and Claws alive.
Yeah, definitely agree with everything you guys said. He makes my lists, pretty frequently. He's got stiff competition from Zemo, Mystique, and Hood, and he doesn't have great action economy. He has like pseudo action economy if he has two power and he can taunt and then aggressive, but that doesn't always come together. um, but yeah, I mean, he, especially if they don't have mystic attacks, like he does a lot of damage for a three threat. Um, he's not to be like underestimated by any means.
He has
And then
a
we already
size
looked.
three terrain throw.
Yeah, I mean that's like you can do a lot of damage with that. Um, and we already looked at his card, which is like one of the wilder cards in the game. It's
He
actually
has
a
three
really
cards.
that's true. Yeah.
That
Yeah, weapons of Midgard. Yeah, I don't know.
one's
If
not
that
great.
was like a if that was like a third attack, that would be great, but it takes up one of his actions. Scuttlebutt is kind of interesting. It's very power intensive, but it does let you like kind of secure the kill on somebody. Um, I mean, obviously, I already kind of said it. The one with Enchantress is my favorite one that he has.
Yeah,
That card
that
is
one I'd
amazing.
bring.
The only thing holding that card back is you have to have him and Enchantress. But if you are bringing them, it's a really good card.
Yeah. Let's put Scourge fairly high, I think. Um, I think I'd rather have him than Hood, just generally.
It's super close between him and Hood. Um, maybe it even comes down to like, does your list need more mystic damage or does it need more throws, or do you really like Enchantress a lot? You know,
Yeah, I think Scourge is great. Just, take him if you don't have a like niche to fill, you know? All right, let's move on to Ulik. Which I think I've mentioned this three or four times now, but I personally don't like him. So what do you guys hype him up?
Yeah, I think he's just pretty solid. I feel like I just keep saying that, but um, he is pretty expensive, but he hits hard. He takes hits. He's got the mobility to keep moving around, play the objective games, while still holding off attrition coming into him. Um, yeah, I mean, I think he's as solid as any of the five threats here. He's just a different play style than most of them, I would say.
Yeah, I think he's very different from the other five threats, like you said, John. Some of our other five threats, they all like want to be turrets, and he's not a turret. He's very mobile. He's gonna be the most consistently good of all the five threats, except for maybe Red Skull, Master of Hydra, if you are taking him. Um, I think he's better in Cabal than Criminals. Like I think this is his best home, actually. He loves Dark Rain because it makes his damage a lot more consistent because he has high dice pools and no dice fixing. So that's a big point of synergy with Cabal. I said in our criminals video, I think he really is more of an attrition character than a control character. The push on his attack is great, but you can't really count on it. And when you're trying to score points and take the controller out, you're doing that partly because it doesn't depend on dice. And so you don't really want to depend on dice for a push. But what he will do is get in there. He can, target their squishy characters because he's so mobile. Throws size 4 terrain, which is a ton of damage. So yeah, I think if you bring him and then like one of the five threat turrets characters, like either Claw or Ultron or Modoc, you're really covering your bases with five threats. So I actually like him a lot in Cabal. I agree with Jimmy. I don't like him in Criminals, but I think he's pretty good in Cabal. Um, the last thing I'll say, he does have a charge that's one power. Like he is one power short of doing it turn one. And that's also true of Zemo and Malekith. And even Killmonger, actually, I guess. So I don't know if there's a list that you could go around advanced R&D and like charge all these people in turn one.
Hellfire
That's worth
Club?
it. Yeah, he's amazing in Hellfire Club. But
Where do
yeah,
you guys
I
want
don't
to
know.
put him?
A tier with the rest of the five threats, I feel like.
Yeah, we should probably bump down a couple. Maybe bump Claw to the top of B, so we have all the five threats in there.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I maybe move Loki up to the top of the five threats. I think he does the most unique things out of all the five threats. The others are kind of more interchangeable than he is.
It's true. Basically, we're saying to like, pick your spice,
Right.
which the next character is also a five threat Cabal turret. He's the
Spicy.
brand new one, Ultron Metal Tyrant. So Bobby used him in that game against me. He's very similar to Modoc. Like Modoc has built-in rerolls and like better defensive tech, but Ultron brings grunts and I think his attacks are slightly better. Maybe not. I don't know. Would you guys ever take him over classic Modoc?
I guess
I
it
think
depends on
he,
the crisis, but like the grunts can't do anything with the crises, so it's not like they're helping out there. Um, but just having the extra attacks is kind of nice.
yeah, I think he does a very similar thing to Modoc. He can throw size 4, which is kind of a big deal, versus Modoc throws size 3.
Is Modoc only
Um,
size 3?
yeah, he just throws
Oh
long.
yeah. Okay.
Um, like he kind of does a similar job to Modoc, but he does it with less risk. Like if you misplay Modoc, things can go really bad. Ultron is a little safer. Like he's pretty mobile with the medium base, medium move. His health, he actually has the same total amount of health, but it's more evenly distributed on his card. Um, and then you can even like if you want to, you can bring Age of Ultron and pretty much guarantee he's unkillable. I don't think that's actually the best thing to do because you're basically playing down a card for the whole game. But he's like similar to Modoc, but less risky. I think that's my bottom line on him.
That's a good point, Bob. He's much faster and like, you know, I've seen people say about these drones that you just never kill them, so they're just making two extra four dice attacks every turn, and that adds up over the course of the game, you know. Grunts can be a liability sometimes, so it's worth keeping that in mind. I don't know. Is he also just in this like five threat thing we have going on up here?
I don't know. I almost lean towards B just because I don't know him well enough yet. But um, I think Bobby had a good point about him being like a little safer. I don't know, just safe, give you more consistency at an A tier, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think I agree with John putting him in B. To me, like my personal philosophy is like you put someone in your 10 and then you look at your opponent's list and you say, okay, this character is going to be great this game. I'm going to take him. Or you look at your opponent's list and you're like, this character is a liability this game. I have other better options. Like I'd rather have characters have higher potential and then just count on myself to use them when I need them. Whereas Ultron, I feel like his potential is lower. So that makes me a little less excited for him. I do need to play him more. You know, he's brand new. I think he's solid. He's another very solid five threat. Um, but what do you guys think of his Glory to Ultron card? I I think it's really cool, and it can give him a ton of power. But I don't know if it's worth it.
Depends on the game plan, I guess. I'm more likely to take this one than the Age of Ultron. Um,
This card is interesting.
if you have a plan for it.
Yeah, if I guess if your opponent is super heavy on attrition, Age of Ultron could be nice because you can like send Ultron in with like impunity. You know, you're like, sure, you're playing Guardians, like attack my Ultron. He'll fly in there and do some hurt to you. You know,
Mhm.
I still don't. We've talked before about playing down a card with those types of cards, but
I will say that this Ultron has a lot of guaranteed damage. Like he has a guaranteed damage on this. Well, it's not guaranteed, but you know, the auto damage on this force, the push, the throw is basically guaranteed damage. The drones deal guaranteed damage when they die, and then this card also deals damage. So if you're against like Criminal Syndicate or something, and you know somebody that's tanky or is really wide, you could just deal a ton of auto damage everywhere that they can't prevent, right? And I think that's worth something. But I don't know if this card is generically good enough to like bring if you're bringing Ultron, especially if he's like your safe pick.
Yeah. I do think it's an interesting choice with the other Ultron, um, just at the fourth threat, but I don't know that that like
Classic Ultron.
I don't know that it like keeps classic Ultron relevant. Um, I do think I'm more likely to take new Ultron than classic just because he's got a cape.
He has a
Um,
cape. He's better.
Cape
yeah,
is
I mean,
important.
classic Ultron still has some decent kit to him, being the fourth threat instead of the five threat. But I don't know. I'm not never been in love with him, but I don't know. Throw's nice.
He's not bad, right?
Hmm.
Like, I think his issue is he's too like well-rounded. You know, he doesn't fill like a specific role. And that's kind of like your four threats, like there's four threats now that are so good at specific things that you just bring them. And the fact that he's only in Cabal really hurts him. Like that's why he doesn't see play elsewhere because he has to be the best four threat to be splashed. I mean, he's
Yeah,
fine, right? He's not bad.
I don't
yeah,
know. I feel like I'd honestly put him in C tier just because I'm really not going to pick him unless I just want to play him. And even
Yeah,
now, I don't really want to play him with a different Ultron.
that's what I'm thinking too. C tier.
yeah. I agree. Cabal is such a competitive affiliation because it's so big. There's probably some affiliations where Ultron could be pretty decent. I mean, throwing size four terrain is always respectable, but yeah, he just doesn't quite get there.
He has zero action economy, I think is the main issue.
Yeah,
Sure.
and like attrition needs action economy more than like objective teams do. Um, so
All right,
Yep.
let's
Time for
Viper.
a time for a D tier.
Is Viper D tier? Honestly,
I don't know. I've only ever really seen her in Hydra, um, where she's definitely not D tier there, but I feel like maybe she has some legs with her triggers on New Red Skull. I mean, I don't know that I'd put her above C tier really.
can a long move character be D tier?
Fair.
maybe
That's
that's what
good.
AMG was going for with this character. They were like, long move is so good. How can we make someone with that bad?
Yeah,
I don't know. I
but in
guess
all
it depends on.
seriousness,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what she's supposed to be doing, you know? It's
Yeah.
like, she has two power to place within two, which is good. Like that is a great superpower. Like very few three threats have that. And people are freaking out over the new Deadpool for having something similar,
Mhm.
right? But I kind of hate this like martial prowess. It's called coiled serpent here. But spending two power to like not have a guaranteed better defensive tech is like really annoying to me. It's like
Yeah.
better than nothing, right? But long move and stealth is like might keep her out of D tier for me. She is
Yeah.
good with Sin, the whole like go wide troll you team.
Mhm. Plus it she helps with the dual affiliation if that's your jam. I don't know. Maybe bottom of C.
Yeah.
What do
I
you
mean,
think, Bob?
looking at these other characters we have in D, I do think she is better than them because of being a long mover. She's just like so unexciting, you know. Like she feels like a character from like a really low budget, you know, like movie or something that has like nothing memorable about them, you know.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I,
kind of the whole serpent society is kind of like that. All the snake themed villains
the
that
theme is there.
you can't really like keep track of them. You kind of forget them after they're done.
I mean, a
Well,
wild stun on a range three pistol is pretty decent,
yeah.
but
So yeah,
that's not.
C tier for her.
Yeah. All right, finally, Winter Soldier Operative. New kid
I
on the
have
block.
I have no idea what to think of New Bucky, honestly. I mean, he's basically a rogue agent because he's in every affiliation.
He's only in
um,
five.
only. Yeah, I don't know. I've played him once and seen him played a few times, and he's not bad by any means, but like, wouldn't I usually rather have three threat Bucky? I don't know. I kind of like the Green Goblin terrain explosion that he has, but other than that, I don't know. I feel like I'd really just rather have OG Bucky.
I mean, range five, strength five with stealth
Is not bad at
is
all.
no, like that's solid all by itself, and it's unique. So that's worth something. And I think this grenade is also really good. Like giving stun when you're trying to kill people is great. The shock is like surprisingly good at keeping your whole team alive. He also has Soldat activated that works in Cabal, and this seems really good with, I mean, giving Malekith cover. Like, that's a pretty big deal. That gives
Yeah.
Malekith some of his like defensive tech back.
Yeah. Or Red Skull having cover for when he's not passing it off to somebody else.
Right. I I think he's like fine, you know. I think he's okay if you want to play him,
Hmm.
but I don't think he's the first choice of four threat.
Maybe
Yeah.
B tier, just if you're playing more of like a gun line and you want a little bit more options on like original Bucky's gonna have some extra out of turn economy. Um, but I think he could be good if you're setting up that kind of gun line out of Cabal. I don't know. I feel like B tier just because he's a little bit like dependent on the rest of the roster.
Yeah, I think B is what I'm thinking for him. You're on the same page, Bob?
Yeah, that feels right. I what you said about giving Malekith cover is pretty interesting. Um, it's probably one of the best characters to give cover to, so that's kind of a big deal. Um, and if they're gonna want to attack Malekith a lot, so he's gonna get a lot of free attacks off of that because Malekith's not gonna go down that fast. So yeah, I mean that seems pretty spicy. He's super long range. Like I think he's the only range 5 in Cabal. Um, he's probably pretty good on demons. You can sit on the back demon and shoot like pretty much the whole board, and he's safe because he has stealth. Um, I could see a role for him, honestly. I hadn't thought about him a lot in Cabal, but just now talking about him, I'm kind of interested. I think B tier makes sense though.
One thing I really like about this character is that he is pretty much always making two attacks every single turn, besides the first turn. Like round two onwards, he's doing two attacks every turn because he has range 5 hit and run,
Yeah.
and all of his attacks are range 3 or further.
Soldat activated has a little bit of synergy with the new Red Skulls wanting to take power from people because it gives them extra power.
It's true, and it gives him cover, and new Red Skull is a little like weak defensively. Yeah, I don't know. I like think he has play, but like John said, it's like, is it better to just bring the three threat Bucky? He also has Soldat and range 5 is a whole threat less.
Yeah. A lot
Yeah,
of questions there. I think solid solid B threat somewhere around Killmonger probably. I think they are if I was looking for that slot, I'd probably look at the rest of my list and choose between someone like either of them um, to fill that role.
I think three threat Bucky is probably better most of the time, unless you really like the stealth on this Bucky. That's probably the one thing that could make him quite a bit better if you're against like Shield or Guardians or another long range team. The stealth is pretty huge, so it just is kind of matchup dependent whether he's worth it or not, I guess, over three threat.
Yeah, I like really like him on paper, but I don't know. I've like used him once only. I think he is a high skill ceiling character. Like you can't just throw him out there and he'll be fine. Like balancing his power and keeping him in the right spot with Soldat. Like he seems tricky to use, but could have a high payoff. All right, guys, that's our Cabal tier list. Do you have any thoughts about where it all ended up? And it's actually pretty well balanced. We don't ever try and do that, but maybe that just shows how well This
Yeah.
game is balanced.
I think the bottom of A and the top of C, if we wanted to, we could make arguments for moving them into B just to make it a little bit more of a bell curve. But no, I'm pretty happy with where we ended up.
Yeah, it
One thing,
Bags is excited about it back there.
it's John's cat. One thing I noticed, we don't have a fourth threat till the bottom of A. And is she really the go-to Cabal fourth threat? Like you don't see her very often.
Well, we do have Loki. I know we pretty much exclusively talked about him with a gem.
Yeah. I think Loki's best with a gem personally.
yeah, no, it honestly, I think if you're splashing a character into Cabal, it's probably a fourth threat character. Um, they just haven't gotten a lot of fourth threat characters. I mean, I know they got the new Bucky recently, but and then obviously Red Skull is fourth threat, so you always have him as your leader, or
Yeah.
most of the time. But yeah, I mean, I that actually I thought about that earlier when we kept talking about five threats, and then we talked about Scourge and how he has so much competition at three threat. It fourth threat is still kind of a weirdly uncompetitive spot for Cabal. I could definitely see splashing like Logan or Rhino or Bill, just so you have like a really good fourth threat in your list.
Yeah. And the two threat and three threats that we have in S tier, I mean, we kind of just harped on their versatility, right? Like all these different leaders, and they're pretty much going to do whatever you want in any of their game plans on any crisis for the most part. So like I think that's definitely why we put them up there. And four threats can be a little bit more specific. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say that when Beta Ray Bill exists. um,
Yeah.
but no, I don't think there's. I mean, let us know in the comments, but I don't think there's anything we missed as far as the fours are concerned.
I will say with Malekith being nerfed now and being around less, and Hella getting buffed, as a four threat medium base medium mover with two power. I think Bill is a lot less ubiquitous now. I uh I think like we agree, we acknowledge Bill is a really good character, but I think you've used him a lot in Guardians, John, but like me and Jimmy have mostly used him as like anti-Malekith tech. So he did kind of have a specific job for us, and I'm not putting him in my list as much now as I used to.
That's true. I recently heard someone refer to him as BoJack Norseman, and I just can't get that out of my head.
That's pretty good. But I think Hella fits the Cabal game plan better than Bill does.
Yeah, that's
While
fair.
still giving you the fourth threat eyes on the prize play.
Yeah, plus you already have that. If you're just running him for like big boy tech, you already have some other stuff like your Killmonger or whatever. Um, no, I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm fairly happy with it. I wonder which character will get the most flack for. Mysterio, maybe. People love him,
I
but
Yeah, A
Cabal might
tier.
be his worst hope.
Oh well. We gotta
Yeah,
we gotta move on to our Spider Foes video.
we might be higher on Loki than other people. I think
Yeah,
he's got the potential though. Um,
I think that's fair. Plus, I mean, I know there's a new Loki that will be coming one day. Um, but just with other Asgard pieces, I think he could see more play soon-ish. So it's definitely good to get the reps in with him ahead of that.
yeah, hopefully we've kind of smattered in enough thoughts about putting a list together throughout the video. It can be pretty daunting with such a long list of characters. I mean, just in S and A tier here, we have 12 characters, so you can't even include them all in a list. Um, I think, you start with like I think New Red Skull is just default. I think you have him in your list if you're playing Cabal. And then I think you ask yourself, like, do I want the Malekith package or not? That's kind of your next big question. And then you probably figure out your five threats. And I would just say try to balance them. Like, look at what crises they're good at and try to like have them be good at different crises, you know? Like don't take two five threats who do basically the same thing. You know, take two or even three five threats who are pretty different from each other. Um, you know, and then you can fill it out the rest of the way with lower threat characters. That would be my general approach to making a list. What do you guys think? How does that sound?
No, I think that's pretty spot on. I don't know that I have a ton to offer there. That's a pretty solid game plan.
I think the Cabal leaderships are like so generically good that you can splash a lot of characters. And I think that pushes out a lot of these lower characters. Like they're not bad, right? But it's like there's some really good Cabal members, and you don't have a whole lot of reason to go fully Cabal. Like you have Dark Reign, right? But you don't need all five characters to be Cabal to, you know, take full effect of that card. So like even though we have 12 characters in S and A, realistically our Cabal roster might only have five, which is half of the amount of characters we have here, you know? So I don't know. I think also with Cabal being so deep, it's easy to fall into the trap of always playing the same four or five like Cabal members. And it's like you really do have a ton of options. Like really only these four I could see like not making a Cabal roster, right? But the others all have a role that they could fill. And it's, it's like worth thinking about that when you go to build a Cabal team. Well, any more final thoughts, guys? Should we wrap it up? I know it's been a long video.
No,
Yeah,
I, I think that's probably about it.
All right, great. Well, thanks everybody for watching and sticking around with us. This was a lot of fun. We love making these tier lists. Uh let us know what affiliation you'd like to see next. We don't have anything planned for the moment. Uh, maybe it'll be Sentinels. I don't know. Maybe Spider
Yes.
Foes after the Spider Foes come out, but that won't be till next year. So yeah, just let us know. And this is Syndicate Gaming signing off, and we'll see you next time.